Be ready in a minute if they are. Whoops. Yeah, I guess these chats are contingent upon at least one person responding. Because then I don't know if I'm just... Well, I guess it would be recorded. So it would show up on YouTube. Well, so there's somebody saying hello, but maybe... That's not a quite a confirmation that they're... Okay, somebody says hi, Ross. Okay, good. That sounds more like they're receiving. Okay, so I'll hit record and start in a second. Let me pull up my notes. Yeah, I have notes this time. That's something. Okay. This is the February chat with fans. This is another one where I just would want to go blah and then just shut the camera off and go back to work. Was hoping to have more out. I have done a lot this month, but it's been kind of distributed of a couple different things, so I'll just give an update. I guess the first one, sorry to disappoint again, I do not have the movie sample update video I was going to show you. Although I actually have an excuse for that one. I was making progress on it. I was discussing things with different people who were helping with animation and modeling. And I think it's kind of narrowed down between... See, at first I thought we had this nailed down, but we discovered some more stuff. The facial motion capture is narrowed down between two candidates. And when I was doing testing, what I found was my mustache confused the hell out of one of the software solutions. However, it looked really promising except for that, but it was like twitching back and forth between my mouth and mustache for the sensors. So I think I'm just gonna have to shave my beard when I do more tests. So I wanted to do this video first before I did that. I'll probably do that tomorrow or the day after. So my beard may be a little lighter next time, or it might not. I mean, this will grow back like that. So, yeah, I don't really like how I look clean shaven. I think I look uglier. So I may not make that public, but I'll definitely try and get a lot of samples in while I'm doing that. And if that ends up being the solution, then I'll probably just kind of, in the future when I need it for the movie, I'll just shave it after a video chat, then just do a whole bunch of recording samples for that. So yeah, but I think if I do that, it's going to be extremely promising. But even if that doesn't work, we have a backup a more expensive backup that should work. But yeah, this is the sort of thing where we really have to figure it out. Otherwise, it gets expensive if we don't. So, especially with one of them has like a 30-day trial. So sorry about that. What I've been doing in the meantime, I've been doing Freeman's Mind. It's not ready yet, but it's like a 50-50 chance it's gonna be the next video. The other one I've been spending more time on is this one. Yeah, for everybody waiting on Freeman's Mind, I'm sorry. Basically, I'm kind of been going into mad scientist mode this month because these things I want to work on that this next video, it's almost gonna be a little bit like in terms of complexity and length, it's probably gonna be kind of like the games as a service video I did. However, it's gonna be much lighter. Completely different topic. But I'm sort of talking about stuff that just kind of nobody that I can tell seems to really be saying. Well, that's why I say mad scientist mode, because I feel like, am I crazy talking about that and like thinking all this stuff needs to happen? So this is one where I'm absolutely hoping for audience feedback once it's done. And if you're upset that Freeman's Mind is competing with that, I've been putting off this video for at least a year, maybe two. Probably a year and a half. So now I'm just kind of going crazy and I have to make it. So unfortunately, that's kind of becoming a trend with some of these side videos. But once they're done, they're done. So they're not something they're gonna need like 10 follow-ups. So, what? Okay, it looks like chat's okay. I have to check periodically, so in case people are screaming at me that there's a problem. Uh, let's see. So yeah, I've been dumping time into that, but it's yeah, again, it's definitely has some layers of complexity to it. So there's a lot of supplemental material. Oh yeah, has two advantages over the games as a service video. One has nothing to do with the law, so that's not only that's a time and morale boost right there. And two, I'm not going to be in front of the camera for that one, so I don't have to memorize my lines, do all these different takes. So it's a little easier on me. What the? Okay, other announcements. Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, this one's. Yeah. If I had to predict, yeah, we'll see how my predictions turn out. If I had to predict, I'd say we have 2 Freeman's Minds coming and the side video coming for February. We'll see what happens. What? Oh yeah. Now, this was just a side thing, but I thought I'd make it public. I got one email from someone who said they had a nightmare that I put all my videos behind a paywall, and so I just wanted to clear that's not going to happen. The way I look at it, if I have to start charging access for my videos, I'm not going to make it. The only possible scenario I could see that happening would be if the movie did really well and then like an actual company paid a king's ransom for another movie, in which case you'd have to pay for that movie. That's the only possible scenario I could see. Something post-movie kind of level. And I'm not worried about that happening. In fact, I saw a video, oh geez, what was his name? It's an Asian guy who did all these like kind of funny FPS videos on YouTube. He had a ton of views. I think one of my favorites of his was like it was like FPS hacking in real life. I can't believe I forgot his name. But or he had like a Home Alone spoof that was pretty fun. In fact, in his Home Alone spoof, I'm actually going to use that the way these stunt guys handle falling down. I'm going to use that as a model for some parts of the movie. I mean, not yeah, Freddie Wong. That was it. That's it, Freddie Wong. I remember I saw a video by him where he was saying where I think he was trying to branch out into kind of like Hollywood level stuff, that kind of culture, and it was really clear he was worthless to them if he didn't have Hollywood experience. He was saying that like if he had been an extra in a deodorant commercial or something, that would mean more than his entire YouTube career. And he has way higher production value than what I have. I mean, so yeah, so I'm not too worried about a company coming after me after I make the movie. But oh yeah, but I was gonna say the worst thing that would happen, again, paywall is not gonna happen. If things got really rough, I might do an SOS out to fans and to see if like maybe somebody has property I could stay on, like a guest house on the country or something like that. And then I would just keep working from there. So yeah, I'm not above that, but it's not at that phase. So I just thought I'd put that to rest. Let's see. Oh yeah, and here's another thing. This is going to be related to a future video. I just want to ask people in general. Let's say you're trying to run an older game on a fresh install of Windows. What's every trick in the book you would want to have ready? So you don't know which game this is. Like let's say from like late 90s, early 2000s. What software would you want to have ready that if the game doesn't work immediately, then having this software would work? Like for example, like the Visual Basic or no Visual C++ runtime files. A lot of older games want those, so you want to install all of those. Or sometimes older versions of PhysX some games want. Or if are there any like DLLs that like there were a handful of games that might want? that would help me out if you have experience with that. So you're thinking, oh yeah, there's a handful of games from like 2001 that are going to be looking for this file. Now, and these are games where those don't come with the installer. So like for example, a lot of older games might want like Bink or like Smacker codec stuff or like old QuickTime files, but those usually come on the disk with the installer. I'm talking about stuff that they're expecting Windows to have it. It doesn't have it, but it will work on modern Windows if you have those files. So I'd be happy for suggestions along those lines. And I think that's it. Oh yeah, I guess I'll mention this quick. My wife's Twitter is Amazing Magda. Her birthday's coming up on the 6th, so feel free to send her happy birthday message then. I think she might like that. So, okay, I'll get on to questions there's always a chance I remember something I meant to say in the middle of it. But yeah, Freeman's, oh yeah, I've also been working on Game Dungeon, but that's been, the next one's gonna be the follow-up episode. So I'm kind of taking my time with that because there's a lot of stuff I need to cover for that one. I probably won't even be able to fit it all in. So I'll have to pick and have to do another follow-up later on. But yeah, but Freeman's Mind and this side video I'm working on are what's coming out next. So let's see. Yeah, mythical follow-up number 3. Yeah, it's coming. And I have some, you know, when I was working on this, I was a little worried this would just be like a little too mundane. It's like, okay, well, this is kind of boring. There's going to be some interesting parts in it, I think. I have something really cool, but I'm not sure it'll make it into the 3rd one. Well, really cool to me, but if it doesn't, it'll make it into the 4th one for sure. Okay, yeah, let me get started. I'll pull up the link here. Oh yeah, I'm glad I looked at these because the first one I had to prepare for here. Yeah, wait, I'm lost the chat. Hold on, I gotta put my windows in the right order here. Ross, if you were like the Moses of video games, what would your 10 commandments be? Yeah, okay, so I made my list here. This was tricky because I had to decide like what should be a commandment and what would be just sort of a wish list. You know, like, well, I'll get to this. So I'll go with the ones that I think should pretty much straight up be commandments. I think I was even revising this like 10 minutes before I started the chat even. Okay, so number 1, you guys probably know this one. Thou shalt not release games that cannot be played by anyone after support ends. So you do whatever you need to. Once you're done supporting that game, people need to be able to play it. You know, you know, at the present day, you know, if you shut down the server, they can still play it on a private server. Or doesn't mean you need to support future operating systems or consoles, whatever. It just means that, you know, if somebody wants to preserve it, they can. So yeah, that's clear. There was no way that wasn't going to be number 1 with me. Okay, 2. This one's controversial, actually, and probably would cause a big upheaval in the industry, but I'm putting it up there. Thou shalt not have contractually obligated platform exclusives or actively prevent your game from running on other platforms. So I worded it like that because let's say you want to make a game for the Wii U or the Switch, or yeah, I guess Switch. And you're a developer, you know what? It took everything you had to make it for that. You don't want to bother with other platforms. Fine. But on the other hand, don't stop other people from trying to get it running at something else. Or there's been plenty of developers where we'd love to bring our game to PC or something, or to Xbox, whatever, but you know, we're locked in a contract so that we can't. I mean, this is the crap that I've said it before, I know, that old movie theaters used to do. I want to say back in like the 30s and maybe early 40s, where if you wanted to watch the Warner Brothers movie, you had to go to the Warner Brothers theater. And I think it took a Supreme Court ruling to stop that from happening. Although I realized we're kind of heading backwards again because now you have exclusives on stuff like Netflix or Hulu and stuff. However, at least with videos, those don't actively prevent them being displayed. You don't have to buy the Netflix monitor, or the Netflix or the TV or something like that. So if you really want to, you can record the stream and then watch it after that. But I think that would be the equivalent, is if you had to buy a Netflix rated TV also to watch the Netflix movie. And then if you wanted to watch something from Disney, well, now you have to buy the Disney TV. And like, I hate that stuff. I mean, it's just, it's really anti-consumer and it's wasteful. And I get why they do it, but it's like, what, these companies just can't survive if they don't do that. I mean, these are enormous companies now. I mean, it's not, I think the old arguments don't hold up as much. So yeah, but if you're a developer and you only want to make it for that platform, sure. I mean, a perfect example of that would be most games are made on PC are made for Windows, but most of them don't stop Linux users from running them. They're like, fine, great. We don't want to support it, but we're happy if you can get the game running. It really needs to be like that. So, okay, so yeah, third one. I should keep moving here. I mean, now I guess we're getting to more minor stuff, but we'll bounce around. This is the stuff that bugs me. They'll shall include options to turn off screen tinting, film grain noise, chromatic aberration, bloom, retro scan lines, and other effects that muddy the image if your game has that. So you can use those, blur filters, that sort of thing. I mean, that can ruin some games for me. Yeah, actually, that's with scan lines in particular, I notice a lot of like retro themed games will have that. Fortunately, most of them let you turn it off. I actually I've barely played Far Cry Blood Dragon because earlier you used to not be able to turn that off, though I think now you can. So I was thinking, I hate this. It's too distracting, like the horizontal scan lines. But okay, I want to say on a lot of old monitors, I don't remember there being you like really seeing the scan lines. I mean, on some of them you did, but like on an old CRT, did you like really see the horizontal lines? I mean, I don't know. I don't remember that so much, but maybe it's just rose-colored glasses. But yeah, I do need. Well, now that I can turn that filter off, I'm gonna have to go through and play Blood Dragon because I was liking it otherwise. I think I only played like the tutorial, and then the scan lines bothered me too much. But yeah, so you don't have to compromise your vision. You just have to have the option to turn that off. I hate blur filters, film grain, tinting. I hate tinting. But yeah, okay, so that would be third. Fourth, thou shalt not force your field of view to be so narrow it can literally make people nauseous. I mean, yeah, that's a little broad, but I mean, I think a lot of games that are offenders of this, the people who made them literally never played them like on a PC, like on a desk in front of you. I mean, look, I'm sensitive to this. My wife's, she's worse. I mean, there's a lot of games she has to turn. She's even pickier about field of view than I am. I mean, I think a lot of these developers, if you force them to play it on a PC, they'd be like, oh God, this is awful. I mean, like the original Borderlands, I think was kind of like that. The original Dead Space was. It's getting better now, but I mean, this should never have emerged. This had a re-emergence because it's like in the 90s, you kind of didn't have this, and then like in mid-2000s, late 2000s, it came back because I think you had developers that just literally never played it on the PC. And yeah, that was gonna be the next one, Resident Evil 5. That one, I tried playing the demo. That one like literally made me nauseous trying to play it. Now again, there's a lot of hacks out there now, and you can clean up most of them, but it's like, that's kind of inexcusable, I mean, Yeah, if you had a scope vision or something for like a rifle or some, sure, okay, fine, it looks extra narrow for that part. But, it just, geez, I have to find it. I remember an article on Borderlands. It was this big article where they were talking about like how, like they discovered, how field of vision is tricky and it's just like, what the hell? This was like 2000. When did Borderlands come out? Hold on, I need to check. Let's see, 2007, 2000. Borderlands release date. Okay, 2009. I think the article is like 2009, 2010 or something. What? You haven't figured that out by then? By now? Yeah, so it's that upset me because at one hand the article was interesting because it had all these technical details, but on the other hand, it's just like this is a grand discovery for you. I mean, okay, so I should keep moving. Yeah, that one's bugged me a lot in the past. So. Thou shalt not release a game in an unfinished state unless you clearly label it as that. Okay, I think everybody can get on board with that one. Because, I'm not against early access, but it should be early access. It should be, people should know what they're getting. Listen, if game development was done competently and not just under the gun all the time, then there would be no such thing as a day one patch. Because you would have ironed out as many bugs as you can find, and it's as good as you can get it without getting more user feedback. I mean, there's always going to be bugs, or usually that you didn't catch. It's like, oh, everybody's complaining about this now. Oh, we didn't know about that. But if there's a day one patch, that means you knew about the bugs. They're there, and you shipped it before it was ready. Now, of course, that would wreck the industry and like drag it back to the 90s, I guess. But, well, no, it wouldn't actually to label it. So fine, if it's a brand AAA title, or yeah, what's the latest one? Warcraft 3 Reforged. Okay, we need to label that as early access because it has a lot of bugs from what I'm hearing. So yeah, so it would, Ross, that's not how it works. Well, that's how it used to work. I mean, it used to be you had one chance. Early 90s games, I mean, it's, bugs are discovered after a game goes gold and spreads into CDs. After the CDs get pressed. Well, yeah. Well, okay, I guess, if there's a day, okay. I'm wondering, yeah, but for digital only titles, when it releases on that date, I mean, I don't know. Okay, maybe there's a little bit of wiggle room. But okay, there should not be a massive day one patch, put it like that, okay? Because, again, if it was developed perfectly competently, which most games aren't nowadays, then you would have nailed down every bug you knew about before it went gold. And then anything you caught after that would be the day one patch, which would be small because you couldn't have missed all that much, most likely. Whereas if we're talking like a 20 gig patch, it's like, yeah, the aiming is broken, or the game always crashes after level 3 or something, something huge. Yeah, then Russ has no idea what he's talking about. Okay, well, I think I do, but it's more like I remember how it used to be. Again, try if you release games today, if you went back to like the early 90s, early mid 90s and release games the way you do today, you would go bankrupt because there was just a higher competency standard. So I mean, I realize that's not how the industry works, but that's how I would push it. Well, again, I'd say you have to label it. So fine, you're taking all these shortcuts, you're working to the last second before official release, fine, you got to label as early access. You can do that. The industry could do that. It's not going to want to, but yeah, so I'm not saying you have to release a perfect game. I'm saying you have to let people know what they're getting, All right. Let's see. I mean, yeah, just to be gonna have a patch. All right, next one. I should keep moving here. Oh yeah, again, this one would, well, actually, this one would upend current law, but it actually, I don't think it would make that, it really wouldn't be that big a threat to the industry, I don't think. Thou shalt not prevent nonprofit fan games from being made. So yes, that would turn copyright law upside down. However, you know, if somebody, because how often does that happen that somebody makes a Nintendo fan game, then it gets shut down or something? Like what? Like those people aren't going to want to play the next Nintendo official game? You know, so if there's a Metroid clone or something and they try to stop it, what? You think because that came out, gamers, no, we're just not interested in the next Metroid because, officially from Nintendo? I think all like nonprofit fan games should be legal. I mean, no, not for profit because then you're taking the IP, which the company had a whole lot invested in. But that would be one of the commandments. You can't prevent them from being made. Yeah, but I mean, you could come after them if they were stealing assets, on that level. So, but that wouldn't prevent the game from being made. It would just mean certain types of games would still have issues with it. So. Yeah, it's just somebody saying unless they outright steal assets. Yeah, that's fair. They can't steal assets, but I think intellectual property should be fair game for nonprofit stuff. And this applies to my things too. Someone can make their own civil protection if they want, but I won't necessarily endorse it. I'd have to like it, but okay. So next one. Okay, this one's probably most people don't care about it, but I care about it. Thou shalt not make it impossible to render your 3D game in stereoscopic or VR. That doesn't mean you have to support it. That means you can't set it up in such a way that it's impossible. Because man, so many games are shut off that I want to get into. And it's just like a sea change for me. So, okay, I'll move on. But most people aren't on board with that one. But whatever, I'm making the commandments here. Okay, the next one. Oh yeah, but people might. This one's a little more PC-centric. Thou shalt not use optimizations that break existing standards, making your game hell to run in the future. So, when people, I mean, that was the whole point of things like Direct 3D or DirectX. Look, I mean, okay, feel free to email me on this, bosswsky@gmail.com. But my understanding is if every company was forced to follow like the standards, like for the APIs that they're using, you wouldn't have this issue where you need to download new drivers from the video card manufacturer for it to run. And plus, this sometimes sets up a time bomb for future game compatibility. So but they'll use these tricks to get, more performance that are that they're specific on having, they'll work with the video card manufacturers like AMD or NVIDIA to make sure these special shortcuts are in there in those drivers and make sure they come out. But see, that's not a part of a standard. Well, somebody's saying not Direct3D, fine. Vulkan or OpenGL, it's not part of that library, and thus this stuff isn't well documented. So in the future, if you try to run that game on a different card, or hey, maybe those companies go down, the game may not even work properly or even run. So it's I don't know. Feel free to correct me on that, but my limited understanding of that is there's a lot of time bomb set up. I mean, that's kind of what was going on with the Phantasmagoria 2 thing, me barely getting it working. A lot of games during that era, they were taking shortcuts left and right that were non-standard, not documented, and then when you try to run them in the future, it's expecting these things that aren't there because it was never a standard, and it just sets things up to be hell in the future. So, okay, and the last one, I guess it's petty. Well, okay, the last one before I get to the runner-ups, it's petty, but this bugs me, and there's so many games that I wish this wasn't the case. Thou shalt have the option to change the time scale for any game of the day and night cycle, unless it's really important to the gameplay. So if it's more as kind of symbolic and it's, you know, the day lasts 10 minutes and then the gameplay really shifts over, okay, fine. But if it's just some open world thing, I hate this kind of rapid day to night thing. It always kills it for me. I'm sure a lot of people don't care about that, but that's always bugged me. Okay, so here are the runner-ups, though. Yeah, this one sort of extends a little bit outside games, more like how they're made, but I was gonna say, if there is a crunch, then all managers must work as long as the longest developer. So if the developers burn the midnight oil, the managers have to be in there too. So whoever ordered the crunch and is responsible for overseeing it, I would put that in. So, but that doesn't really affect the end user as much, but you know, this makes it a little more egalitarian there. Yeah, for microtransactions, I feel like there should be something in there, but I wasn't sure what, because, I mean, my knee-jerk impulse is just to ban them, but I'd say legitimately good things can come from that, because I do like some free-to-play games, and to be honest, even though I may have some other issues with it, PlanetSide 2, I think I have zero issues with how they handle microtransactions. I mean, I think it's totally fine. And that's a free game. So, I mean, I guess you could have, I might have things like you can't show it in game for, you have to adhere to gambling laws. So in other words, you can't have this in a game that's meant for someone under, was it 18 or 21 in your game? Like so the kids are seeing the option to buy more stuff. Or, let's see, what's another one? I'm trying to think of other microtransaction stuff, because there has been, it's one of those where I can kind of see both sides. However, it's definitely slanted a little too much in one direction. But I'm not sure where the cutoff point is on that, but. Oh yeah, this was one where I would like this, but I really can see both sides on it. Yeah, actually this was in the chat, the Reddit, where people were suggesting them. Yeah, they were suggesting, thou shalt let us revert to a previous update if we are dissatisfied with the current one. I would be on board with that, but at the same time, that really could be hell for some developers. But because like if it's an MMO and they have to host the server in order for you to run the older one, man, that would be, it could spiral out of control quickly. But at the same time, I would want that wherever possible, you know. Let's see. Oh yeah, and the other one, which again, it would probably ruin the industry, but I'd like it. Everything be moddable. Like don't encrypt the data for anything. Just, you know, everybody can make mods, you know, for any game. You can go through, mess with the models, the maps, everything. Just, but yeah, that was more of a wish list. But well, some of these others are kind of wish list, even though I think they should happen. Okay, so I should move on. That was a longer one. Ross, have you considered bringing your acolytes into a mass MMO play session and causing general chaos? And then it says, could you give a hint what the next game dungeon will be while imitating the voice of the narrator from The Chosen? And, well, I told you the next one's going to be the follow-up, but I guess after that, okay, let me think. It will be a shooter of the first nature. Civi 11 has discussed it, but he did not say all the things. Okay, so there we go. From memory. I'd have to hear him again to get closer to the narrator. Oh yeah, and yes, that was the whole point behind the PlanetSide 2 video. That's what I wanted to do in PlanetSide 2. Basically get a small army together and just kind of blitzkrieg things until everything bands together, then we just get a giant battle going. But it's like they released a patch, I want to say it was like a week or two after I made the video, that kind of automatically divided up everyone equally. So I couldn't even get my own fan base all on the same faction, because it would just be split up on, even though there were still empty slots, because it was just, they got really aggressive on auto balancing, and that just killed it for me. I mean, I was thinking, so yeah, I'd love to do that, but I don't know what games we could do that on, because with MMOs, I mean, a lot of them, you can't really just hop in and just get people together and go do stuff, because you have to level up to, you know, level 40 or 60 or whatever and be invested in it and know what's going on. Whereas PlanetSide 2, there's still a hell of a learning curve, but you can kind of run it, jump in and, you know, start firing at things. But yeah, it's what it's yeah, I don't know which game to do. I mean, we sort of did that a little bit on, was it Realm of the Mad God? But I don't know, that one didn't give, it didn't give, it wasn't the right kind of chaos. I'll say that. Yeah, again, if there was a way to have PlanetSide 2 just remove the auto balancing for teams, or have like a server that did that, then yeah, for sure I'd fire it back up, because that would be awesome. You know, just because I think it would balance itself too, because we would have just everybody going in and smashing a place, but then people would become aware of what we're doing and then try to fight back. So I don't know. Yeah, I'm still open up. Let's see. Okay, I was seeing a PlanetSide comment about berets, but it yeah, I don't know. I'm totally on board with that idea. I just need to find the right game for it, and preferably, and again, ideally one that's free or else pretty cheap, and then you sort of see the impact of having a whole ton of people in there. So. Yeah, no, that's the entire that's why I don't still do the PlanetSide 2 games, is because it felt neutered after that. So, okay, so next question. I should move on some more. You said before you'll never animate in the Source engine again. I believe at one point you said along the line that if Civil Protection were ever to continue, it would either be another engine or someone else would have to do the animation. Were you ever remotely close to another episode of Civil Protection getting worked on? Yeah, one animator from who helped with the tunnel, maybe another one, emailed me about that. I should maybe get on that. I don't know. I kind of want to just get the movie out first, then do it. I still have Civil Protection ideas. I never got to like the best stuff, but that's what pushed me towards the movie, because it's like, man, that might take so much work. It's like, let's just have something more cohesive. Civil Protection's, it's in sort of, it's in hibernation. It's not dead, you know. It can still happen, but I want to prioritize the movie. But the thing is, the tools I'm working on, I'm getting developed. I knew it was going to be more work up front. Yeah, well, I'll say it again. I knew it was going to be more work up front using a different engine for the movie, but if I had done it in Source, I feel like it never would have been finished. Whereas this way, I'm sure it's going to be finished. So it would have been artificial progress if I had stayed on Source. But yeah, it can still happen. It can still happen. I mean, I actually have the dialogue recorded for one episode that from years ago that I still think holds up. Just have to make it, so. What do you think of upvote-based system for comments, like on YouTube or Reddit? Would you say it obfuscates information some people will not like to see, like criticism or unpopular opinions, or it actually helps the creator not to focus on negative things? And then people, yeah, I think on Twitter somebody was saying that, oh, I saw the camera twitch for a second. or I thought I did. That they hate Reddit, and another person saying, what? Or yeah, in the chat. Yeah, they're saying that if they're 2 days late, that means their question won't be read because it doesn't get enough votes. I'm not sure that's necessarily the case for the second one because, I mean, I usually try to go through and then if I see a question, I think like, oh, this is a good question. Even if it only has like 1 point, I usually try to cover it. Yeah, it might. I don't have an issue with negative stuff necessarily. I mean, there's different ranges of negative. It's more like, if this is like a criticism you like really want to hear my reaction to, or if it's just berating, then yeah, you kind of don't want that. But the thing is, I'm going the path of least resistance here. I just wanted something. See, I originally in the old chats, I tried just taking the questions as they came. And what happened is I would get like 6 people asking the same question. So we're like, well, we answered that. Well, we answered that last time, or answered that last time. And so I kind of wanted to add some democracy to it so that, let's see. Okay, somebody else saw the glitch too. All right. So it just got repetitive and I think it was more wasteful. Whereas if a vote that's up at the top has a bunch of points, well, that's probably what at least a significant amount of people want to see me talk about first. And hey, if it's a repeat, like I think actually that civil protection one is, fine. If people want to see the answer to that, even though I said it earlier, they didn't see that chat, sure, I'll answer it again. But otherwise, you're going to be hearing the same thing over and over again, is what would happen. I think I was even kind of guilty of that last time where a lot of the live chat was asking questions that already got answered in the exact same chat. So, I mean, I need some order to it, so it's, if you have better suggestions, I can do it, but just the answering them as they came, which I do at the end of the chat anyway for the live ones, it wasn't working out so well, basically. And then, or there might be one question that somebody asks that nobody else is interested in. Whereas a ton of people were interested in another one I didn't have time for because I did the other one. So I just need some order to it. Okay. If you would live in medieval times, what kind of occupation would you do? Perhaps Magda's. Well, if I lived in medieval times, I'd be doing whatever my father did. I'd probably just be a serf working the land. I mean, that's kind of the point, you were born into your position for the most part. I guess though, if I had some choice in the matter, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess blacksmithing has some appeal to me. Or actually, no, I probably want to be I probably have more of a natural affinity towards being something like a woodcutter. Something that had me out in the forest a bunch. I mean, like even growing up, my mother would always have me just climbing up trees to cut down dead branches and stuff. Actually, some of those I might have been paralyzed if my agility hadn't been as good as it was. So I got up pretty high at some of those, but so somewhere I'm out in the forest all day, I probably wouldn't mind. What would Magda do? Well, I think I think she has a natural affinity for taking care of animals, so she'd probably be helping to work on a farm. Although, even then, if you're a woman or a wife, you're probably doing a bunch of things. Maybe you're taking care of the animals, and maybe you're helping with harvest, and you're cooking, and you're cleaning, and you're taking care of kids or something. So it's, yeah, someone's saying like a puppet theater thing. Well, that'd be fun if I can get it, but it might starve to go on that route too. But yeah, being like a wander, that would be fun. Being a wandering kind of wandering the countryside, doing puppet shows in different towns and villages. Yeah, I would like that. Let's see. Yeah, but yeah, but probably see, I saw the glitch again. See, this is plugged into the USB that might be a little more problematic. The port, I don't know. This is plugged into the front port right now. So that might be what it is. Yeah, this came up when I was doing some of the streams. So okay, so yeah, if I had some say in the matter, it'd probably be, yeah, woodcutter, puppet show performer, or I guess blacksmith at the end of it. Maybe not black. I don't know about blacksmith. It's hard to say. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, this is one I'm glad I saw because I had time to think about. What are some of the ways you've been able to be an absolute cheap ass other than letting your hair grow out proper head bang length? Well, there's the standard stuff, like basically never eating out, never going to the movies, not having a car, let's see, what are some others? Getting the absolute cheapest phone plan that I had, or some of the things that I did in the past. Well, I'm trying to think of, yeah, well, with food budget, try not to have prepackaged meals, cook as much as you can stand, which is always a tug of war with me because I kind of hate wasting time on cooking. I mean, it's not necessarily wasted, but I'd rather be working on other things. Let's see, some of the things. Oh yeah, basically only using the bare minimum for heating during the winter and for cooling during the summer. Yeah, okay. I mean, I remember in one of my old apartments when I was in Pittsburgh, I basically almost never turned the heat on unless there was company over. I remember at one point the washing detergent, in the kitchen actually froze over in my apartment. Dishwashing detergent, or you could see the ice crystals in it. Let's see. But yeah, other things, but those are basic things. I remembered some others that I guess might get me into a little bit of trouble, but I think it's safe enough to mention them. When I was in college, I had a meal plan thing set up. I mean, I paid for the books and everything, but it actually didn't cover everything. And actually there were additional expenses. See, I was in the dorms, I was paying for the meal plan, which was supposed to cover everything, but it didn't really. And there was one, I think I mentioned it in one, I think I alluded to it in one of the videos, but yeah, I kind of did do this, where they had this coin-operated laundry machine, or washer and dryer, and they wanted, I think it was either $1 or $1.25, and that was when I figured out that nickels had about the same mass as quarters. So yeah, this is illegal, so don't do this. I mean, it's illegal at 2 levels, but maybe the statute of limitations passed, I'm not sure. Where I basically took a hammer and hammered out the nickels until they were about the size of a quarter, and then more times than not, the machine would accept them. It was like the kind of mechanical ones you just kind of shove in there. And I went outside with like a grate on a hammer and hammered the nickels into quarters. And yeah, in the quarter sizes. And then so I basically had an 80% discount on my laundry. And another thing I did, again, I guess technically illegal. This one's less illegal because I was defacing currency, which is illegal, and I guess I was fraud that I was doing. So, but that's the thing when you get to a certain level of yeah, you can only save so much money before you cross over into the crime threshold. I think this is also a perfect example of why, the poorer a region is, crime statistics just go up, because at some point you just try to find ways to survive. And I mean, yes, I guess washing clothes isn't survival, but it's still kind of up there with, basic things. And what? Yeah, another thing I did was, there's the meal plan, but I think it only covered 2 meals, and you were kind of expected to just buy one in the evening. And that, so at first what I did was, however, like the meal before that, at like the dining hall, it was a buffet, all you could eat. So at first, what I was doing was I was just kind of practically force feeding myself there to just get as full as I possibly could there to try to last me through the night until morning for breakfast. But what I found was it just wasn't working. Like my stomach would just be like growling at night, and yeah, it's like the kid in Deus Ex who's saying like, can I have some food just so I can get my stomach hurts so I can get to sleep. It was kind of like that. So I couldn't force enough food in me. So what I was doing was, what I ended up doing was I got a Tupperware container and kind of smuggled it in with my backpack. And the thing is, it was pretty crowded in the dining hall. I think they might have had some, like 1 or 2 security guards too. So there were 2 things. So I had this, I couldn't just like scrape my plate. People would see that and I'd probably get busted. So it had to be something I could just kind of whip real fast into the Tupperware container in my backpack so that hopefully nobody would notice. And there were 2 things I ended up getting. One was bananas, because I could just kind of pick them out and just kind of like just shove them in there real quick, when nobody's looking. And the other was, they actually had a waffle iron there with batter, so you just make your own waffles fresh. So I would make a waffle and then just put it on the plate and then just go and like dump it in real fast into the Tupperware container. Because I didn't want anything too messy. Because I'm not sure. Yeah, I think it might not fit into the refrigerator unit, but those were 2 that would. Yeah, and again, I'm not sure exactly which law that breaks. I mean, I guess petty theft or something. Because yeah, it's all you can eat, but you're taking food out of the building too. So the idea is you're kind of taking more than what you're paying for. So yeah, don't do that if you can avoid it. But those are examples where I've kind of gone the extra mile on being cheap. Because I mean, I was going hungry. I mean, for the second one, and look at the other one. I had done the math. I realized I think I was going to run out of money for laundry, doing it for the washer, whereas the 80% discount there got me through it. So I mean, yeah. I mean that's the moral of the story is it's good if you can keep. It's good for society if you can let people meet their basic needs. You cut down on crime dramatically then, because that's how it ended up manifesting itself in my case. So, okay, I should keep on going here. Hopefully the statute of limitations is expired, but and plus I'm confessing, but then there's not the evidence. They'd have to figure out, well, wait, which college? When exactly was this? So I probably won't get busted on this. But, let's see. Okay. Oh yeah. Stadia seems to be crashing hard just months after release, with outdated game builds, unplayable lag even with good connections, and a price strategy that makes 0 sense. They're hoping it'll crash and burn. What's your take on now that games is passed? And they want to recommend Game Pass PC to me. Well, okay, I'll get a second. Okay, I'll answer the first part. I'm glad it's crashing and burning, because as far as I'm concerned, they crossed the line as soon as they went for exclusives. I mean, right now I think there's only one, but I know they're developing for more anyway. Because I mean, this is the harbinger of doom for game preservation. That's the entire reason I'm against Stadia. If it was just a streaming service, like fine, you don't want to buy the game, you just want to select from, or you don't want to buy the equipment you need to run the game and you just want to buy it from the cloud, sure, go ahead, that's fine. But, we know it's going to shut down at some point. Or they inspire another game streaming service to emerge that has exclusives, then that shuts down, then the exclusive is dead. No one can ever play it again. That's the entire core of why I'm against it so fervently. If they didn't have exclusives, I just wouldn't care, because that doesn't really appeal to me, but if it appeals to other people, fine, But the games may appeal to me, and that business model is going to get them killed. So, I mean, I can't, if I'm interested in that game, then they're making it personal for me. So, and as for the Game Pass PC, I'm just not that interested in like the rental thing. Like they're mentioning games like Forza Horizon or Halo. Look, I'll tell you right now, I want to own the Forza Horizon games because those are gigantic open world driving games that I just want to explore every last inch. And even once I'm done, you know what? I might want to come back in a few years and play it again. Or, man, with just a lot of old games in general, even ones I thought I might not be coming back to, the fact that I might be able to get some of them to run in VR so that I can actually kind of go to those worlds and see that game world as though I was actually there. Listen, guys, it feels different. It's like, I mean, you may think you know a game inside and out, but like once you're actually like in VR as though you're standing in it, it just feels different. It's like, I mean, it's almost like a different place almost. So, and that's really lighting the fire for me to want to go back and play a lot of games that I've already played. So yeah, I kind of want to own them. And for an open world driving game, that's just a slam dunk. I mean that's just a no-brainer for me to begin with. So I mean, there's open world driving games now. I've beaten Test Drive Unlimited. I'm sure at some point, especially if I get working in VR, I'll want to go back and play it again, or just drive around in it. So I don't know. And plus I have so many other promising games that I can play in the meantime that I do own. Like, I kind of wait for those big sales and I just move in and just stockpile. That's kind of my buying habits. Yeah, somebody's saying Test Drive Unlimited too. I still need to beat that one. I've gotten a ways into it, but I still need to beat it. I like to save that one for the kind of the summer weather because it's a bright and sunny game and you're half in Hawaii, half in, is it Ibiza? I forget how, whatever the name of that island is. I think it's Ibiza. So, yeah, so that fits sort of the summer mood for me. Again, I sort of like to play, winter games in the winter, or cold weather games, or dark ones in the fall or winter, and then like more colorful or tropical games like more in the summer. Yeah. Well, when I can, like it just gets me in the mood for those to kind of have it match the seasons. Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, I'm just not that interested in that. Plus, there's always the danger. Okay, even I'll say for streaming. Okay, Stadia is like the one service I know of right now that's crossing the line. Like, as in, we're developing exclusives for this. We're gonna kill it at some point. So these games are gonna die. Now, hopefully those are, well, I'll talk about this more when I eventually do the games as a service follow-up. But, I can see other game streaming companies doing that also. Just because they're not doing it now doesn't mean they're not gonna do it in the future. So that kind of makes me come down against game streaming in general, unless there are some actual legal protections against this happening. Because I think like right now, services like PlayStation Now or the Game Pass or something, okay, yeah, that's their foot in the door. But then who's to say in 3 years they're not developing exclusives for that? And then to say 5-10 years after that, then the game's dead and you can never play it again. So, however, on this note, I have something optimistic along these lines that's going to get its own video. That's another one of those videos I'm dying to make. That's not the next one, but hopefully the next side video after that. So, would you really consider Freeman's Mind canon? Obviously not by Valve, but do you think Freeman would actually go through the game like this? It's the sort of thing where I don't really worry about it. I just kind of make it and just try to make it entertaining to watch. I mean, I try to stick to my own rules, which is, not to have any cultural references past the 2000s, because that's when Half-Life 1 would have taken place, and past that, Freeman's in an alternate reality. And I try to have Freeman treat the entire situation as real. I mean, and just stay consistent with his personality, though his personality is quite diverse. So I don't, so he can have quite of a range there. There's some people like that, you know. But so yeah, I try to stick to my own rules for it. But beyond that, I just don't think about it as that. Yeah, I'm finding myself wanting to quote Ian Flux in one episode. They're pointing to this sort of demigod creature, and the character points and says, "It is that which is." That's how I feel about the videos. You know, I'm not trying to overthink it past that. So. Okay. Are there any other subjects that you'd like to dabble in making videos for that don't involve gaming, but either don't have time to make or don't think it would be very interesting? Well, that's exactly what the next side video is going to be. I mentioned gaming a little bit, but it's not really about gaming, the next one. I guess with those kinds of videos, though, it's like, there's two things. Well, one, yeah, it has to be... Yeah, it has to be interesting, but if I'm considering making a video on it, it probably is enough. But I also feel like I have to at least halfway know what I'm talking about. And it has to be an interesting enough topic that I feel like I have something to say on the matter, you know? If I'm just repeating other things, then I'd rather make something else. So yeah, that's why I say I'm kind of going in mad scientist direction a little bit, because, look, I'm going to be bringing up at least 2 topics. There's other ones for sure, I think, coming out February. The next one, if I was super lucky, it would be doing February. Probably more realistically, it's March. That I'm not hearing this discussed either at all, or else not nearly enough, or not following the ideas that I'm having. So, so that even if I end up being completely wrong or misguided, well, then that's still better to make a video on it and find out the truth, rather than talk about something that everybody's saying that I'm not really gonna add anything special to it. So, let's see. Couple questions for first episode of Civil Protection. Oh yeah, talking about my background studying law enforcement. Did Civil Protection, was that influenced by my own circumstances? Actually, it's more like that helped. I don't think that's where the inspiration came from. I think it actually came... Okay, well, this one may or may not get a game dungeon. I don't know. I don't mind saying it. I was not consciously aware of it, but then looking back at it now, I realized, yes, this definitely helped inspire Civil Protection. There's an old game called Dark Colony. It's a real-time strategy game. It has cutscenes in it where they'll show different things happening to, like, the soldiers. And there's this one where they're making a bet on whether this alien can make it to the finish, this wounded alien can make it to the finish line. That absolutely, I realized, oh yes, that was definitely in my subconscious somewhere when I was making Civil Protection. So, I mean, I don't think that was the only inspiration, but yeah, that definitely, I think that's where it sort of came from. And then seeing some of Red versus Blue later, I was thinking, yeah, man, it'd be kind of fun to make something like where, you know, guys, soldiers or officers are just kind of screwing around. I liked Red versus Blue a lot until it got kind of more dramatic. And I was thinking, no, they should have just kept it kind of fun and just lighter if I was doing it. So like, let's just have like one just crazy situation happening, or just keep it really funny and don't make it too serious. So, which is the direction I get. That's the nice thing about making your own videos, is you're steering the ship. So yeah, you can kind of rest assured that none of my stuff is gonna get overly dramatic or emotional. It's just gonna kind of stay, you know, funny or just kind of nuts or chaotic or something like that. So. And then the chat's asking, do you think if it's weird if I made a VR spinoff before they made the third game? Valve does what Valve wants to do, you know? It's... Maybe they'd be anticipating more blowback if... If they did Half-Life 3 exclusive to VR. Well, let's see. Okay, oh yeah, and the other question was... oh yeah, Dave, his character. They ask if I like if I change my mind on him for episode 2 because he seems more coherent. No. I always wanted Dave to have a bit of a range. You know, sometimes he's more chill. Other times he's just gonna just go off on whatever he feels like doing. You know, for some of his insanity. So yeah, it was always going to be a range. It's just that I decided to end up starting with the ninja episode. I actually was originally going to start with the episode that I still haven't made, but I have voice recorded for. So, actually, everybody's lines are recorded except mine. So I should probably get that underway before my voice starts changing too much with age. But actually, I started doing it, but then the performances by one character was so strong that my character was supposed to be reacting to. I was thinking, oh wow, I've got to redo this because now mine sounds too weak. I've got to, because he was coming back. He was like really shouting at Mike's character. I was thinking, oh well, Mike's got to come back hard on this. So it made me really, yeah. It's like I got to raise to his level that the voice actor was doing. So it requires a redo in a good way. You know, yeah, I think it'll happen at some point. And these pre-recorded ones from, geez, this would have been, I guess they're like 10 years old now or something. It also contains cameos from other source machinima makers that they did a couple videos that I really liked, and then they sort of fell off the map. So I'm not even sure their videos are on YouTube now, but I backed up their videos. So maybe I can release them somewhere if they don't. However, they do have copyrighted music in theirs. So I'd have to find a place that's safe to do that. But I mean, I wouldn't profit off it or anything like that or put ads on it, but for people to see where the other characters came from, you know. Let's see. Okay, they're asking for Still Life 2. Is that on the back burner? It's still kind of more on the long-term back burner. I'm not in a rush to do Still Life 2. It's not the greatest game. I'll say that. But yeah, I'll get to it eventually. Well, I'm doing the follow-up now. I think the follow-up's been in limbo long enough. Has there ever been a game ending so bad that it ruined the rest of the game? Have you ever had a game ending so good that it saved the game for you? I want to say no on either of them because, I mean, there have been really bad game endings, but like, let's say it's, well, I mean, I think Half-Life Original's ending is kind of weak. I think Deus Ex's ending is kind of weak. I thought, what was it? The game Dex, its ending was kind of weak. But those are really great games. So it's kind of like, it didn't change my whole impression on them, but it's sort of like having a punch in the face at the end. So it's like, yeah, that was a great experience, but I got punched in the face. So that's how I feel about a bad ending to an otherwise kind of great game. And the other way around, I'm trying to think of a game, like maybe the chat knows. What's a game that that wasn't very good, but it had just a great ending? Like the ending's awesome. Usually if you have an awesome ending, the game's at least decent. I'm coming to a blank of like what game did that? You know, like, oh, the game was awful, but the ending's great, you know. Yeah, I'm not, I can't think of any because usually if the ending's great, the game is at least decent. So Okay, somebody's saying Titanfall 2. Okay, well, I haven't played Titanfall 2. So, it's on my eventual to playlists. All right, so I'll go to the next question. I'll just kind of eye the chat. Somebody's saying Outlast 2. I did finally play some of Outlast, and I just watched a playthrough of the rest. It didn't. The gameplay didn't really grab me. I haven't seen Outlast 2, but though I mean, Outlast was at least decent. I mean, if it's like the first one, it's just it wasn't quite to my taste with how they did the gameplay. Okay, somebody's saying Monkey Island 4. Yeah, I guess I didn't finish Monkey Island 4, so maybe you may have me there. They're saying it was a really lousy game. Monkey Island 4, it was just kind of like, it was just, I got a few hours into it. It just wasn't grabbing me. I didn't think it was awful. But, I mean, I've seen awful games, guys, you know. Would you do a stream of Sven Co-op or something along the lines of Vinesauce Joel? And I don't know who that is. Sorry. But for Sven Co-op, maybe if it's like a good mod I haven't played before. I think there's like some scary mods I never got around to. Like, is Cry of Fear? Is that a gold source or a source mod? I want to, but as for like streaming with another YouTuber, I don't know. I think I'd rather, I don't know. I think I'd rather do something a little more kind of structured, like either like a podcast or something that they're having, or I don't know. I mean, it's like I have like kind of limited time to just be kind of just casually streaming so much. So I kind of want to make like the stuff I do kind of count a little more. So maybe we have like a better discussion. Again, not knowing who Vinesauce Joel is at all. The only Joel I know is the old one of Mystery Science Theater 3000. So I doubt it's the same one. Okay, somebody's saying Cry of Fear is gold source. So yeah, maybe that's that's on my to playlist eventually, because I heard a lot of people say good things about it. So, and there might be some other like old mods, old gold source mods I haven't played too that are good. I sort of lost track of them, but yeah, I mean, I guess if I was doing like a streaming thing, I'd rather have like, again, like a giant big game where some other YouTuber is also part of it, you know, so like the Team Fortress stuff, or again, if PlanetSide 2 was, if we could skew the balance a little more. What is the worst movie you love? What is the best movie you despise or does nothing for you? Yeah, I saw this, so for the best, I'm not sure if there's like a best movie I despise. Maybe some people can list some candidates I haven't thought of. Because usually if like a movie's really popular and everybody thinks it's great, the worst that happens is I'm just not that impressed with it. Like a more recent example I can think of is, I mean, I think it broke records for the amount of money it earned. I just thought it's like, well, it's okay. Is Jurassic World? Because Jurassic Park is a great movie. I mean, I think it's just a solid adventure movie. You know, it's directed by Spielberg, has lots of good lines, excellent pacing, acting, and just Jurassic World just felt more hollow. I wasn't really getting attached to the characters. They weren't really selling me on like the terror of the dinosaurs. I like towards the end I was having, I guess it's called like action fatigue, because believe it or not, there is such a thing as too much action, where for me at least, action needs pacing. You need to have like, you need significance to like really care about like the characters involved or what's happening. Or, you know, whereas if you just do like constant action, then it's just, you get sort of numb to it, I think. Unless you're doing, unless you really know what you're doing. For example, I think, I don't remember getting tired of the action in Hardcore Henry, but it had pacing too. It would have like some calm moments, then we have the action, and then it keep providing a variety of different situations. Or if it's just like two characters fighting forever, that's like, oh, I hate that. Because it's just like, I don't know, it just, unless it's just something really clever that, exception I'm thinking of. Yeah, I haven't seen the newest Jurassic Park, the Fallen Kingdom one. And someone's saying, does Cool World count as bad? You know, Cool World's one where I don't think the movie's that great, but man, it has elements I really like out of Cool World. Like, I was fascinated by Cool World itself. I would like to see more of Cool World, the setting. Like, that seemed to me wildly interesting, that environment. Cool World has an awesome soundtrack. Like, I love it. I mean, there's multiple great tracks in there. So, but the movie, yeah, kind of weak. But, okay, it's like, there's some other, okay, so like really popular ones. I thought the movie was all right, but was it Gladiator? I thought just got way hyped up. I mean, like with Academy Awards, or yeah, I think it won an Academy Award or something. Well, not that I don't even care about those anymore. They just seem like whatever now. But I think it got like a little overhyped for Gladiator. It's not a bad movie, but I've seen a lot of movies like Gladiator, I thought. So, let's see. I'm trying to think. Well, I thought Titanic was kind of overhyped, but it was, I guess it was all right for what it was. I was kind of surprised it was just like one of the best, you know, grossing movies ever. I'm trying to, because usually if movies are really good on a list, even if they're not my thing, I can at least kind of appreciate like what they're doing or like aspects of them. I'm trying to think of ones I don't know if I can think of really good movies I just hate. I mean, what's somebody saying? Goodfellas. Goodfellas is a great movie. That one's, I mean, that's a very enjoyable movie. So, yeah, somebody was saying Dark Knight was overhyped. I think it didn't get as hyped as much for me. I thought it was pretty good, but there's plenty of things you can criticize. Yeah, I guess what bugged me most about Dark Knight, okay, this might sound like heresy, is the Joker didn't laugh enough for me. I mean, he laughs like what? How okay, if you're a Dark Knight fanatic, how many times does the Joker laugh in the Dark Knight? I want to say like he laughs when Batman throws him like off this beam like he's gonna die. I thought, oh, that's great. I like that. I think he laughs a little bit at the crime meeting. So that's what, 2? I mean, his performance is awesome, but it's like not quite Joker, you know? It's like, is he really, like what about him makes him the Joker and not like the Riddler or something, you know? It's, he was great as a villain, so don't get me wrong, it's just, I like the kind of manic laughter to my Joker, so, yeah, it's, saying, did he laugh in the interrogation room? I don't remember, so. Yeah, but we were awfully light on laugh. If I was gonna criticize that movie, it's a good movie. But, okay, so for worst movie that I love, I had to think about it because, I mean, I guess we're probably in the so bad it's good territory. Well, a common answer is, I don't know if love it, but I thought it was surprisingly watchable and good is Troll 2. That one's good. And another one which I could see where you could say this is a bad movie, but I liked it. Was it Invasion of the Space Creatures? I think it has the alternate title, like The Strangest Dream. It's very low budget, kind of sci-fi comedy, but it has a lot of fun moments in it. And I guess, Well, I don't think Dog Soldiers is a bad movie, but it's been a long time since I've seen it. I should rewatch that one. Yeah, let's see. Another one. I don't know. I think this might qualify. Was it Nuke 'Em High? The first one. It had moments. It comes across as a real B movie, like over the top acting and stuff, but it has moments of just unbridled chaos, which I love. So I enjoyed that. I'm trying to think of like other kind of movies people generally think are bad that I enjoy. Oh, okay. Somebody's mentioning Space Cop. That was that Red Letter Media one. Well, that one wasn't too bad. Okay, this is one where I could see people saying this is a bad movie, but I enjoyed it. Space Truckers. I, I feel like it could have been better, but I enjoyed it enough. Let's see. Well, okay, so those are some candidates. I mean, wait, I missed one of the questions there. Oh, no. Somebody's saying is Flash Gordon from the 1980s of the Queen soundtrack considered a bad movie? No, I mean, no, it has way too much heart for that, I think. I mean, that's a movie that's a movie where its aspirations exceeded its budget, I think. But it's no. I mean, that's more like cult classic kind of material, I think. I haven't, I'm not sure I've seen the Masters of the Universe. The 13th Warrior. I don't know if I've seen that. Oh, okay. So I'm saying Starship Troopers 3 is absolutely awful. Yeah, I saw that. I remember that thinking that was bad. It wasn't as bad as the second one. The second one was awful, from what I remember. Whereas the first one's like up there with one of my favorite movies. So it's, yeah, somebody's saying Pandorum. Pandorum was kind of okay. It definitely had good parts. Pandorum is one where I feel like the atmosphere is great, the plot line's good, the acting's all right, but it just kind of needs more. Like, have you ever seen some movies that they're pretty, they have a lot of things, good things going for them, but I don't think there was much in Pandora that you couldn't do in like 45 minutes or maybe even 30. Yeah, maybe 45 minutes sounds about right, but they have to stretch it to movie length, so then it kind of feels like it's not as strong. Whereas Pandorum would be awesome if it was like cut down to 45 minutes. So in order for it to be movie length, you gotta have more. So, well, okay, that's a bit of a hint on my movie. There's gonna be a lot going on in it. Because I those are the movies I like, where you're just like, oh man, it's just, there's a lot of stuff coming at you. So, let's see. Okay, just checking some comments. Okay, so I guess I'll move on to the next question. If you had to choose between a monk and a paladin, which would you prefer to be? And that's a good follow-up question underneath this. In a video game or in real life medieval Europe, Well, I think I don't have the right temperament to be a monk. There's kind of too much inner fire in me to do things. Like, I think it's been a long time. I think in the past, I tried meditating and I really didn't like it. Like, even when I'm relaxing, I like to be doing something. I like to be, playing a game or watching a movie or reading something or listening to music. Just kind of doing nothing and contemplating things. I don't like stirring with my own thoughts for too long unless I'm like, the only time I like that is if I have a new concept or a puzzle in my head and I'm trying to work it out. Then I don't mind being alone in my own thoughts. But if it's, I don't like having that linger too long. So I always like to be kind of doing something, and that's not really a monk style. Yeah, they're more about calm and freeing your mind and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's I think I'm the wrong temperament for a monk. So I guess that only leaves me with paladin, but which I'm not sure is really my especially if I was to actually be a paladin. That might not be what I want either, but at least I'd be, I guess, traveling, having adventures, and probably getting killed. But I guess there's be a more exciting life. And actually, if we're talking about games, like role-playing games, I guess I'd probably prefer the paladin because that's usually your tank class. So I sometimes enjoy games where where you're just throwing your character at the big guys and just taking the punishment and just kind of slamming into them and seeing if you can prevail against that. So, well, kind of like how I was doing in what was it, the Apocalyptica. Yeah, it's yeah. I didn't really want to for that kind of game. I didn't really want to have to think too much. So I can enjoy that in some games. So that can be sort of the paladin tends to be your tank class in a lot of games. Okay, Freeman's Mind question. Is there any chance we can get an episode where Gordon talks back about the G-Man and his dramatic, mysterious speech impediments and starts imitating him for a while? That is not a bad idea. I should see if I can figure that out. I mean, Gordon was sort of mocking him in the last episode, but it was just like, Gordon was kind of under some pressure too to be doing that slow, drawn out voice. So I have to have the right circumstance. But yeah, I feel like maybe he needs, yeah, I don't know, because I kind of feel like Freeman kind of got blindsided by all this stuff in Half-Life, the end of Half-Life and beginning of Half-Life 2. So maybe he hasn't really had enough time to acclimate himself to the G-Man's mannerisms without another encounter. But I think you don't really get another speaking encounter until the end of the game. So maybe I could kind of fudge things a little bit. But no, that's a good idea. If the opportunity arises and I feel like it's a good fit, I'll take it. I mean, I don't know most of what I'm gonna do in Freeman's Mind. So, okay, next question. Do you or have you listened to Noam Chomsky before? If you haven't, I think you enjoy listening to him, especially with his thoughts on U.S. foreign policy. Who are some of your favorite commentators or people involved with video games, economics, and politics you recommend we check out? Okay, so the first one, yes, I have seen some stuff by Noam Chomsky before. With foreign policy is probably like one of my least knowledgeable areas with just, world events. I don't know. It tends to be kind of like an area I'm less interested in, whereas like I'll do a lot of research on stuff like energy production or just general economics or science and technology, that sort of thing, or environmental state or the state of the environment, that sort of thing. Those topics tend to interest me a lot more than foreign affairs. But yeah, Noam Chomsky has he's generally considered like a pretty heavyweight intellectual, is my understanding. And he talks like it too, but some of his, especially on foreign policy, whatever he's saying, it's probably like beyond my level. For other topics, yeah, he generally has pretty good insights. I think my understanding is he's been blacklisted by like the general mainstream media. So that can happen for two reasons. Like either you're just kind of a psycho or hate spewer, or you might be telling truths that people don't want that the general system does not want to hear. I think Noam Chomsky is definitely in that latter camp. Favorite commentators on games. Well, I've fallen behind, but I like Jim Sterling, Angry Joe. Again, some of them, it kind of depends on which game. Like sometimes if like a game has a spectacular screw up, then I'll branch out and listen to all kinds of people because I want to hear more people piling on about a topic, because it's just fun to listen to. Let's see. Yeah, every once in a while I'll check out Yahtzee stuff with zero punctuation. I need to catch up on Civi's stuff. I think he's kind of gotten more hit or miss nowadays, but of course I like what was it? James Rolfe, Angry Video Game Nerd. Let's see. Yeah, his Spawn one was pretty good. Let's see. What are some others? Yeah, in fact, sometimes, well, of course, I like Tom from Weird Video Games. Actually, sometimes with Angry Video Game Nerd, if he has a new episode, if I'm working on one, I sometimes just hold off on watching it until I finish my video because I sometimes feel bad that I'm not keeping up. Like, oh no, I don't deserve to watch this yet. I gotta make more of mine, so people can have something to watch. Let's see. So sometimes I let them stack up. Yeah, after doing the Christmas episodes, I caught up on some of his. Let's see, who's some. I tend to like funnier people, I guess, is what I'm gonna gravitate towards. Although, again, it depends on the topic. Like, again, if people are talking about like games as a service stuff, I might listen to a lot of different people. Or it's been fun seeing the drama Fallout 76 has caused. It can be kind of hilarious. Hear people react. Oh yeah. Well, this is I've seen one YouTuber. It's a Gundam. Again, he covers different stuff I'm not always interested in, but when he's complaining about games, it can get hilarious. I think he actually does actual comedy too, so I gravitate towards the funnier people probably. They're mentioning stuff in the chat. I hate to say this, but I probably watch the least the kind of drier and more objective people, unless it's a particular game or topic I would kind of want to hear more about. So, yeah, it doesn't mean they're bad or anything. It's just, I kind of like the presentation with the more. Okay, so economics. Again, that's one where I can see a lot of different people varying by topic, but two people I've kind of been impressed by in, I would call, highly specific areas. Well, okay, the first one especially. I've done some reading lately. Okay, well, first off, I have a qualifier to even listen to somebody talk about economics. They had to have seen the 2007 crash coming. If they're talking about economics and they didn't see that coming, then like I don't even want to hear what they have to say, because they either don't know enough, because my understanding is there were plenty of signs if you're in the world of economics that was coming, or two, they're unrealistically optimistic, which I think is dangerous in some areas. So they're one of those two. Okay, so I'm not sure I would trust, from other stuff I've read from him, I'm not sure I would trust a word by him outside the realm of economics, but sticking to economics, I've been quite impressed by, Jim Rickards? He's someone who seems to have like a big picture view of what's happening and understanding vulnerabilities we might have in our economic system. Again, if he's talking about things that aren't economics, I may not be on board with what he's saying, but with economics, stick to that. But I kind of like to know where we're going, for like economics and political stuff. So I like people who can kind of make predictions. Like, apparently he's done some work at the CIA, and he uses methods where he uses the same predictive methodology that the CIA uses for trying to predict incoming threats. In other words, you don't have enough evidence to have a working model of what's going to happen. So I think the general idea of what they do is, okay, let's come up with a couple scenarios. Like we'll come up with some theories as to what we think could be happening. And we'll look at each theory and think, okay, if this was true, then we'd expect to see these other events also occurring that would lead to it or reinforce this happening. And then they'll look at different theories and try to see which ones support, and try to see where are the signs showing up for which models. And yeah, if you don't have much evidence, because CIA, if there's an imminent threat coming, they don't, they can't wait until there's a bombing to to know that, oh yeah, that this group is likely to bomb a place. You know, they have to kind of be a little more proactive with that. So I think that's a really intelligent way of looking at things. And I'm not an expert at economics by any stretch of the imagination, but from what I did understand that he was saying, his logic seems sound. So that's another thing I can look for is, okay, if we assume what you're saying is true, and from all my reading, there doesn't seem to be mountains of evidence saying it's not true, then does the logic hold up for your conclusions? And I felt like it did for some of what he's saying. Another person, again, this one's kind of a mixed bag here, but I've been impressed by some stuff. Is YouTuber, was it Gregory Mannarino? He talks about the stock market a lot. He has a lot of experience with. I think he really understands the stock market. Now, if you were to criticize him, he has a lot of. He might be a little bit guilty of kind of Chicken Little syndrome. You know, saying the sky is falling for everything, and he definitely likes his clickbaity video titles and images. But again, I think like it's the sort of thing where if you look at his reasoning and his logic, it seems relatively sound. Where, like, say you know there's some things you can predict, but you just cannot predict when, because like the forces will be too certain for it not to be true. But it could be something that happens tomorrow or next week, or it could happen in 10 years, and you're not sure when. So his videos kind of all tend to act like they're happening tomorrow or next week. So if you look at it through that lens, that yeah, he may not be right on the time scale of this stuff, I think he seems to kind of know what he's talking about. I actually had to stop listening to him though, because I my knowledge of the stock market is very minimal. I don't have stocks or don't know where to start with that. But the thing is, I was listening to some of his YouTube videos, and he would say, now if you listened to me last week and for following this advice, you made out very well. And he kept saying that like week after week. I was just like, oh my God, I can't do this, because it's like, it kind of made me want to stop what I was doing and just kind of follow his stock advice, but I don't have the time or inclination for that. I'd rather be spending my time making the videos. Now, if you are inclined to that, yeah, you probably should really listen to him. It doesn't mean he's right about everything. Nobody is. But I think he's right more than the majority of the time. I mean, more than half the time. Which, you know, it's like the saying, the house always wins, you know, in casinos and gambling. It doesn't mean the house literally wins every time. It means over time, the average is the house is going to come out ahead. You know, out of 10 times, they're winning 6 or 7, that sort of thing. And I think he may actually have enough going for him. He has a website where he gives out free advice. And yeah, he's also giving out free books, which it's kind of a mix in the reading, but yeah, he's taken the name, was it the Robin Hood of Wall Street? And his whole shtick is he's trying to give advice for more common people, because he realizes there's a lot of manipulation in the stock market. So he's worked in it for decades, I think. So he's trying to give his views on that. So yeah, well, hey, feel free to email me if you do know a lot about stocks and you want to dabble with his advice. Sure, let me know. Let me know if that's warranted or not. Yeah, you know, you can see, is his advice coming for, like, you know, saying to short or sell, but from week to week? I mean, it's judging from the commentary and, you know, the feedback I was seeing, it sounds like he is right more than half the time. So it sounds like his heart's in the right place on that. So that's I always have respect for that. And for politics, I guess with politics, what I tend to prefer is like real big picture stuff. So not commentary on like what happened yesterday or next week, but more like they're looking at the trends over years, comparing this against history, trying to come up with a model. See, I'm interested in where we're going. To be honest, I look at politics right now almost a little bit like sort of the twilight of the Roman Empire. So I have no, I do not know what we're going to, but however, I feel confident we are in a transition, like with politically. Yeah, you know, I don't know where we're headed, but we're definitely changing. So I try to kind of, I like seeing people who have a lot of background in studying this and seeing like speculation on where we could be going. Feel free to recommend people who take that approach to it. You know, send me an email because I mean that's kind of my preference for it. That said, one person I can think of who has done that I think has a very sober take on things is Chris Hedges. He's a journalist. He won a Pulitzer Prize. Yeah, I think he used to work for the New York Times for like a decade or two, but they forced him out when he started talking about the Iraq War. Yeah, and he has a real strong moral center too. I mean, he's very anti-war, anti-human suffering, anti-people being wrongly imprisoned, that sort of thing. I think he spent some of his time like teaching prisoners, you know, helping them with classes. So I mean, he's very like this. You can agree or disagree with some people. However, some people you can tell no matter what you think of them, you can tell they're on humanity's side. And I always have respect for people who are like that, and he definitely comes across like that. Plus, this guy is by no means an idealist. Like I mean, I think he might be a little too doom and gloom for you. If you don't want to hear that, you might want to avoid him. But I think he has a very sober look at the problems we're kind of facing, like nationally and globally, and larger trends. And I think he has no illusions about what's happening, but he's still kind of he's still trying to fight against it. I mean he's. Well, okay, I don't want to get too much into it, but yeah, I've been pretty impressed by what I've read from Chris Hedges. But again, feel free to recommend more people to me. Again, especially people who take that, like, you know, macro step back view, looking at like, where are we going, that sort of thing. And hey, even if they get their predictions wrong, as long as they're operating from good data, you know, that's the key that I look for. I'm trying to think, are there any others? Yeah, and even then, I'm not necessarily recommending you check them out because I don't know. I'm just sort of stumbling around for the truth is what I'm. Oh yeah, actually, let's see. Oh, okay, maybe I should move on. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, see the chat's going back to games, so I should probably get back to games. Okay. Okay, Google Stadia will fail this time, but that does not mean it will fail in the future. Somebody thinks it's inevitable due to cost analysis. I really don't think the cost analysis. Okay, maybe somebody can explain that to me. I'm not sure the cost analysis even works out. I think I think it's more like they want the control. I don't know. I mean, well, I guess, like, where does the money savings come in? I guess they could just keep running the same servers and don't have to put out like a console platform. But like, if you look at places like Ubisoft or EA, they're not releasing their own consoles. They don't sell hardware. So it's like where is the cost? In fact, anything, it seems like that would cost them more, especially if you compare it against like, I mean, I guess the only cost analysis that might work out is they're thinking they can capture more of the mobile market because then you can run it on any device. So the additional cost of running these server farms for games as a service will be offset, they think, by the expanded user base from everybody who may not have a console or a PC or something. that's the only angle I'm seeing, unless I'm forgetting about something. So, I mean, I think the inevitability, which I'm not even sure I agree with that, but that would come more from just them being, the industry being die hard on this. Like, they want this bad. I think I don't necessarily agree it's inevitable. I mean, hey, especially if I can make progress with the French laws with it, then, I mean, if they're required to like actually sell these as services, I mean, they cannot keep selling services as goods, then, or you know, or you're entitled to a right to repair thing, a reasonable chance to repair the product once it ends, then that could change it. I mean, put it like, okay, let me ask you something. For everybody, okay, if I could say one thing that'll sink in to everybody listening to this, for everybody saying, yeah, it's inevitable, think long and hard why you're saying that. If you've really thought this through and just figured out connected the dots and thinking yes, then okay. Or are you just kind of repeating something you heard a few times and now that's gotten into your head? This is how propaganda works, all right, guys? I mean, I don't know. And I've studied this maybe more than the average person, I think. So, but I just see it's inevitable. It's inevitable. Yeah, if you keep hearing that and keep repeating it, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So everybody who's saying that, just stop and think long and hard why you're saying that. Where did that thought of yours come from? So that's all I'm asking, dude. Like, just sort of stop and think about it. I mean, digital, I can kind of see much more of an argument for being inevitable because the savings and convenience, there's a ton of advantages to that. But streaming, there's a lot of disadvantages too. So, yeah, but basically, I feel like if you're saying it's inevitable, I want you to be able to back it up. Like, let's see your evidence. Let's see your reasoning. I want to hear your argument. Because again, I don't know. I don't know. I know companies sure as hell want it to be inevitable, but okay. And I didn't even get to the guy's question. So saying killing games is one thing, but total surveillance of all your actions in a game software is another, more sinister topic. Google will have all data about your playthroughs. How do you react to the game environment, what you choose in dialogues, where you look. And we'll be able to build a psychological profile. I can see games carefully designed to bend to your beliefs or probe your mind. Let's see. Have you considered this part of streaming only games? Do you have any insight into it, or are we doomed? Yeah, it's what? It's asking yeah, it's kind of just asking about privacy in general. I haven't really thought about that one as thoroughly. That's one where I feel like, wow, there are overwhelming forces. Privacy is one of those things where it's not a huge concern of mine for me personally, but I totally respect the people for whom it is. You know, like they see this as like the next step to 1984 or something like that. Like, I totally get that reasoning. To me, it's just the consequences for me personally versus how prolific it is right now just kind of leaves me sort of battered down to care too much about that. Whereas just seeing like the game destroyed, just like I can't turn that off how much it bothers me. And I cut it down for length, but I almost was going to say something similar in the games as a service video that yeah, I respect the people who are just super concerned about privacy and want to push back against that. Because the core, I think, where privacy really matters is for, I want to say people like political dissidents, or journalists reporting against powerful figures, or like covering anti-corruption or anti-war efforts, because that's where, if they don't have privacy, that means they get killed, you know, or so I mean, and without them, then the world kind of gets more dystopian. So it's like I think that's like one of the strongest arguments for privacy. I think the people who are super concerned about privacy are just afraid of the 1984 scenario. I don't know if things are going to turn out like 1984, but that doesn't mean they're going to necessarily go in a good direction either. Now, and plus, in the online age, I was thinking about it when I saw this question. I was thinking I think there's 3 basic categories of people when it comes to privacy. One, people practically living, the people who haven't been compromised that much are either one, almost living like the Amish. You know, they're not on the internet. They're using like they're barely in the system, or even documented in the system at all. So, I mean, they may as well have been living like they would be 100, 200 years ago or something like that, even earlier. 2, people who are super paranoid, so they're running 10 levels of encryption, Tor, covering their tracks. They're like 10 steps ahead, of maybe the people who are spying on them and trying to think of any scenario that are on them. So those people may have more privacy, and then everyone else is compromised. Those are kind of the 3 categories I see. I mean, when you hear stuff about like what the Equifax, what was it, the Equifax leak, whoops, we accidentally doxed like half the country or something like that. I mean, it's like, geez, you know, that's a big one. And there's a lot of security leaks. I mean, I already assume my privacy has been compromised 6 ways to Sunday. I'm not happy about that, but it's like, boy, it's almost a full-time job if you want to keep your privacy, is my understanding. So, I mean, I'm not on Facebook, and I'm not on a smartphone, so that gives me some advantages, but I'm on Gmail, so I'm sure Google has just everything they could want on me. I'm on YouTube, so yeah, Google's got me for sure. I mean, yeah, it depends. I mean, on some things I don't care so much about privacy, but I realize there actually is something with gaming I do kind of care about with privacy. And this is actually the reason I have more than one Steam account, but one's totally open. I think like a month or 2 ago, I just decided to just like friend everyone that sent me requests. It's like, okay, why not? And the other one is totally in private mode and barely anyone has it. It's because I realized one thing I kind of do want to keep private is like hours played per game. Because I realized I don't want that sort of scrutiny. Because, look, I've been working, like for example, I've been working on a ton of stuff this week. But, you know, if all that's public and everybody's looking at it, they're gonna see, Ross, you played Hard Reset for 5 hours this week and we still don't have a Freeman's Mind. Ross, you know, like, and it might get amplified by that times 100 or something. I was thinking, and then I would just be afraid to get online if it was like that. I would just be playing only offline games or retro stuff. So, or hey, say I am working on Freeman's Mind, but somebody's saying, Ross, I've seen you haven't played any of Half-Life 2 since last week. You say you're working on Freeman's Mind, but you haven't played it, so we know you're lying. Why are you doing this, Ross? Why are you lying? And then everybody starts bandwagoning onto that. I actually had a little bit of that happening when I was finishing up Freeman's Mind for the first game. Because it was going into like late November, early December, and I was seeing comments like, Ross, how does it feel to know that you lied about promising you would be done by the end of the year? And there were multiple things like that. And the way I ended up coping with it was I said, I don't want to see any comments like this unless you're willing to bet against me, I will not make it. And I ended up getting some money from that. Because look, I felt confident I could do it. I felt like I could do it. And I was thinking people just didn't know what I was capable of. Actually, I keep thinking of a scene. I think the movie itself is kind of weak, but there's a great scene. Look up, maybe I'll link to it in the YouTube. Adventureland. There's a scene where the manager says, "You don't know what I'm capable of," and I felt just like that. I felt. I'll link to that scene. If you haven't seen it, it's a great scene. It's the best scene in the movie. I didn't think much of the rest of the movie, but that scene's fantastic. So yeah, there's reasons to want privacy, but corporations do not want it that way. There's too much money to make. So yeah, I mean that's kind of what was going on with the COPA stuff. Is really YouTube's been kind of operating out, just kind of ignoring privacy laws for, I don't know, a decade or so. And the law was kind of finally catching up, but now it got so entrenched that this is a huge problem because they were breaking the law for so long. And it's like, if they had gotten that within the early days of YouTube, then it might not have ever been a problem. But since it is, then they kind of passed the buck on to the creators instead of owning up to it, and then that caused the chaos. Whereas that's what the tech industry does. They ignore laws to kind of go ahead with their business plan when convenient for them. So, and sometimes that catches up, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, Uber, yeah, companies like Uber, that's been their whole business model. So, I mean, they're always having lawsuits because they're operating in this gray space that maybe the law is against it, maybe it's not, whatever. We're going to make money right now, So, what? So yeah, are we doomed on this? I'd say you're, if you had a real crackdown by governments against this, you might be able to push back substantially. Like, put it like this. Pretend the CEO of Google or YouTube would go to jail if they were found to be violating privacy laws. Like, the government was just like, yeah, we're monitoring this. You violate, yeah, that's it. You're going to jail. Or let's say the board of directors voted for this to happen. Okay, they're going to jail too. If you had that level of enforcement on laws against corporations, then no, you might not be doomed, because that would be like, holy crap, people would, the people running this isn't just a cost benefit analysis of us weighing the potential fines versus weighing the money we're going to make against this. We're going to go to jail if we screw this up. So, yeah, and somebody's mentioned HSBC managers didn't go to jail. Shows how unlikely it is. So yeah, for the near future, yeah, you're probably doomed. Now the other possibility is if somebody comes out with just godlike encryption to end some software utility that intercepts what's happening. Though even then, that only gets you halfway, because the AI, they're probably using it right now, using AI learning. So even if they have no idea who this is, they're gonna build profiles and observe your behavior. So even though they don't know who you are, eventually they might get enough clues to realize, oh, John Smith in Nebraska is the guy who likes to jump at this point in the game. And because we have these candidates and only 2% jump quite this way, and we've narrowed it down, we've cross-referenced it against, well, they also tend to accelerate at this portion. So we have a 93% probability that it's this John Smith in Nebraska at this address who's doing this, even though he has encryption, up and down, and using like untraceable funds to do it. So it's brave new world, where we're going with that. So I'm just trying to stop things from being destroyed with the games. Like that's why because man, if you try to take this all on, man, you gotta almost devote your life to it. I'm just trying to keep that narrow focus of stopping games from being destroyed. If I do that, the mission accomplished for me, and I hope the rest of the industry doesn't go to hell, but you know, fingers crossed. You know? Okay, let's see. If you could be the CEO of one video game company, what would it be? I think I'd have to go with Valve. I mean, they're one of the few, maybe the only major company that they don't have to answer to shareholders. So even if I was the CEO at another company and wanted to turn things around to like make it more user-friendly, that could hurt profits substantially. Like at EA, that would, I mean, like, fine, let's say I wanted to, yeah, let's say I want end-of-life plans for all games. And then the shareholders look at it and like, well, you know what? That cut into our earnings 0.8%. And you spent time on that when you could have been boosting the next microtransaction scheme. So even though our revenue is about the same, we think it should have been 15% higher than it was. We want you out of here. So it wouldn't even survive in that kind of environment. Whereas Valve, okay, fine. If it's a good idea, we'll do it. You know, it's like that. It's like, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff you could do with that. Yeah, so yeah, I think Valve, I mean, they could kind of do whatever they want. I could push in multiple directions. I probably, first thing I probably do is come out swinging against Epic to, because I feel like they're not treating it like seriously enough as a threat. You know, because the big draw of Epic for the industry is that they offer the higher profit sharing. I mean, you know, they give the, what was it, 88% instead of 70% to the developers, to the publishers. So Valve would have to figure out where its profit margins are to combat that. I mean, I don't know, because that's actually real competition now, and I doubt Epic's going anywhere on it. So they have to come out with an answer to that. Also, yeah, that'd be tricky, because I definitely would want to start getting the end-of-life plans implemented on some level. But Valve's so big that if I were to just do that overnight, it might actually send a lot of developers running to Epic, which I wouldn't want. So what I might try to transition it where if you establish that like your game has an end-of-life plan, you're a repository, you know, so that if your company goes down, we can release this to people who bought the game. Then fine, we give you a higher percentage cut, like just automatically. So that'd be like one of the first steps, because I think Valve could probably take it. And so that would be an immediate carrot on the stick. It's like, well, wait, now I don't have to go to Epic Store. Now I can now I can stay on Steam, where the profit sharing is higher. I mean, well, it may not be higher, but there's more exposure. So I'm probably going to sell more copies on Steam. And what if I just have to have a runnable version of the game? Like when I submit it to get the sharing, you would see a big change, I think, and for a lot of developers. Not all of them, but it would be a great first step. Yeah, unfortunately, I might end up accidentally killing GOG if I was in charge of, not on purpose, but just through what I'm doing. Because then it would be, well, no, GOG could still survive on the, what? Well, maybe. They may not be able to survive on it. They would still have their niche, at least, of getting like older games working on modern systems. But let's see. And another thing I would do is I might try to make Valve a little less anarchic. You know, my understanding of the culture is everybody just kind of does what they want and then occasionally bands together. I would still welcome a lot of democracy, but I think there's such a good thing. I think there's such a thing as good management. Like, okay, so we have like a team meeting. We all vote on what we're gonna be working on. or you know, these people want to work on this, these people work on this, okay. And then there's managers who, they're just sort of like project managers. They're not slave drivers. They're just kind of seeing, okay, well, let's say we're working on, you guys said you wanted to work on Left 4 Dead 3, but now you're decided you haven't worked on that in 4 weeks, and you just, and you've basically just been playing Dota, or, well, maybe they're not screwing around that much, but let's say they're, what? They decided to come up with another prototype card game or something instead. But, well, okay, we're still cool with you doing the other prototype card game, but we had you slated for the Left 4 Dead 3 stuff. So how about we finish that first, or find someone else to take over your job while you work on the prototype card game, and then we can keep the progress going on this. Like, I would be a total believer if you have large coffers like they do, of when it's done, except not like Duke Nukem style, but more like, let's just take our time. We won't have crunch. We'll make sure it's done right. We can, and then just, you know, start, unless things are looking like a terrible idea, kind of finish more what they started, and maybe even hire more people too, to, look, you think there aren't people out there who would kill to be working on like a Half-Life spinoff? Something like, so hey, maybe people who are working now on Half-Life Alyx, maybe another team could have been doing that, and they're working on Half-Life 3 or something like that, or another different Half-Life game, or just a new intellectual property. I think for the amount of money that they have, it seems like they could have gotten a lot more out. So I would have been a fan. I probably would have, again, not slave driver, just however long it takes to finish, that's how long it takes. But I think even then they probably could have gotten more out. So I probably would steer things in that direction as a CEO, but you know, and then if everybody voted to like cancel the project, I guess they cancel it, but just, there'd be like a really kind of, I guess I would want to make it more like a, what was it, a constitutional monarchy kind of thing, where, you know, the workers can override things, but there is some general direction of where it's going, rather than just more anarchy. But I don't even know what's going on there. Like, everything I just said could have been half of what they're doing already, and they just don't communicate anything. So I don't know. All right, I should keep going. Do you like The Far Side by Gary Larson? Your cow logo makes me curious. Yeah, there's a lot of great Far Side comics. I'm just trying to think of some of my favorite, but I know one of my favorite Far Side comics. This is definitely one of my favorites. It's where this guy it's out in the city, and this guy's like, you know, walking along the sidewalk, and you see his wife sticking her head out the window of this apartment block, and he's saying like, Murray, I made a mistake. Put the $50 check into savings and put the $500 cash into checking. Like, she's shouting it, and then like you see these guys just hanging out in the alley, just and like right next to him, and they're all of a sudden like turning and looking his direction. I love that comic. You just shout, yeah, put the $500 cash into checking. I think that was great. There's tons of great Far Side comics, though. Okay, let's see. If memory serves me right, you mentioned you like watching train hopping videos. I didn't know until I saw Brave Dave's, the big fat train hop, which I think was wonderful. It just grabbed me. What? Can you recommend some interesting channels? Oh, I don't know the other train hopping channels, but I found that interesting. I might want to check out more stuff. Although somebody, I think it was kind of making its way through the YouTube algorithm earlier, so a lot of you may have seen it. Somebody recommended something to me that had a similar feel, where this guy walks in a straight line across Wales. That was pretty decent. It had good parts to it. I still think Brave Dave's train hop was better, but yeah, he was in the thick of it for Brave Dave there. let's see. Recommend some interesting channels. I'm way behind on stuff. I don't even know now. Like, I only have so much time, so it's like I've been kind of spending more. When I do have free time, I'm usually tend to be kind of watching a movie or playing a game or something or reading. Let's see. Oh yeah, speaking of trains, do you like trains? Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I loved looking at like model train sets. Uh, I, I I mean, I generally like them. I mean, they're really efficient for a lot of transportation needs. In fact, that's actually, I've talked about oil usage. That might be the number one immediate thing we could do to drastically reduce oil usage is just expand our train network dramatically. Oh yeah, okay, backing up when people talking about like politics or economics. Oh, there's the glitch again with the camera. This guy talks about oil for sure, but also his specialization is also sort of urban planning, city development, but like infrastructure, that sort of thing. I haven't read him in a while, but he had that kind of big picture view and seemed to know what he was talking about. James Howard Kunstler, I think. Now I can't even. I'm sure YouTube will correct me here. James Howard Kunstler. Yeah, Kunstler. He seems to know a lot about that, but yeah, that's probably like the number one thing we could do is to help. Oh wow, did the chat freeze? Or is it just for me? I think it's probably just for me. Okay. I glanced over to Twitch and I noticed I'm frozen now, but yeah, feel free to mention in the chat if it's frozen or not. It won't be for YouTube people, but it could be for Twitch. So yeah, expanding our network, that would make that a priority if the train network, because trains are nice too in the sense that you don't have to be the one driving. Okay, Twitch woke up on my end, so that's good enough. You can sleep on a train, you can read, they're much more economical than planes. So it's, I like them. Actually, I'm not so hard into trains that I want to learn how to run a train, but at the same time, I kind of am interested in some of the train simulators out there just because I want to use that as an excuse to sort of explore the world they've created along the train track. Like if I get in, like once I get more VR going, I definitely want to see if I can get some of those working there. I've heard some people will use those as literal walking simulators where you can actually get outside of the train as the conductor and just walk off. That might be a little too slow for what I want, but I like the kind of idea of just sort of exploring the countryside with it. And if trains get me there, all the better. So, yeah, I generally like trains in that sense. I hope those do get VR support or mods or something like that. This would be kind of natural fit. Okay, I lost my place in the questions. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, trains. What do you think about the art of world building when people put extensive effort into creating a setting for a D&D campaign, game, novel, just for the sake of it? I think maybe, well, of course, depends on the audience. For me personally, I think it's not a bad bonus, but that's not where the focus should be. Like I would 10 times care more about, like, is this an interesting story or like characters? Well, I guess if it's for like a video game, well then the gameplay or something, story or gameplay, or if it's for like a movie or a book, then it's more about like the characters or the plot, that sort of thing. Whereas I think some some people put a lot of effort into the world building, but then the story's not that interesting. So it's like, well, I guess some people really dig that, but it's like, well, then if I don't really care that much about the world in the first place, I'm not going to really appreciate all the world building. So it's just sort of icing on the cake for me, and it's not the priority. If you could change any of your real life stats, intelligence, strength, wisdom, charisma, willpower, etc., but you had to take away points from existing one to add to another, would you change anything? Yeah, probably, given those. I mean, I don't think I really have a lot of need for agility. And I think I have a few points in that. So I could probably take a couple points. And let's see. In the past, I probably would have taken points from charisma too, but now, that might end my career if I were to take away points from that, so I probably should leave that alone. I probably want to put it maybe, well, wisdom and willpower are good ones. If it's an option, I'd probably dump it all into luck. Like, luck is the one to have. I mean, yeah. In fact, I remember a line from Zombieland. It was like, would you rather be smart or lucky? I'm thinking lucky. Like, it's... So yeah, if that was an option stat, then yeah, I'd dump it all into luck because I don't think I'd regret it. But if that wasn't an option, then maybe wisdom. My willpower is okay though. My willpower is pretty decent. Maybe wisdom. I could use maybe some more wisdom. Okay, let's see. Yeah, and strength, my strength is okay, but if I took away points from it, then I'd probably be losing some. I don't know if I want to take away too much from that. Intelligence is the sort of thing where you'll miss it if you have it. I learned that when I got a lot of secondhand smoke from weed before, and I felt myself getting dumber. And I remember myself thinking, if I never knew what it was like to be smarter than this, then this might be okay. But as it was, I found it incredibly frustrating. So I don't think I'd want to take away more points of intelligence. So yeah, I think I'd take a few points off of agility and dump them into luck. So, okay, let's see. Are your dreams tied to the real world or more abstract or even surreal ideas? Have you ever experienced lucid dreaming or sleep paralysis? I don't think I've experienced lucid dreaming. I'm not sure what sleep paralysis is, to be honest. Let's see. Let me look that up. To answer the first part, it's kind of is aware but unable to move or speak. Oh no, I've never had that. I sometimes had a bit of awareness towards the end of a dream, but it barely lasts long at all. Oh yeah, I guess that's what lucid dreaming is. Yeah, it tends to fall apart almost immediately. So, it's like once I have awareness, I can control everything, and then it's not like a dream anymore, and then it loses all sort of magic to it. They can be really abstract sometimes. Like I've been in like another being, I think, that existed for eons before. And I just remember seeing like this sort of alien quarry kind of age over time rapidly, and had this sort of gross on it that I saw these sort of alien phenomena before. But they can be sometimes be a little more realistic. I actually had a funny one that I don't remember most of my dreams. Although if it's hot, like the weather's warmer, then I remember my dreams a lot more. Or if it's cold, I don't remember it as much. I have one that was kind of funny that happened the other day or last week or something. It's probably one of the funniest ones I've had in a while, where I forget what was happening, but we were preparing for some sort of siege, like medieval warfare style, and we were inside a castle or something, and we knew they were going to be coming. They were going to be storming like this one gateway, so we were trying to hope to funnel them, like with other troops with shields or something, towards like a frontal assault so we could get them with spears or something. But I remember having doubts that it was going to work. Like I was thinking, these barriers might not hold, or that they might just spill out past it. So there, I mean, I forget what the context was, but I was on defense for this. And then I remember they came in, and that's what happened. That they broke through where the barricades are going to be and kind of spilled out towards the whole room. And so the fighting wasn't as concentrated. And I remember thinking, this isn't good, but okay, it's not as bad as I thought. Like, I thought they were going to kind of exploit that, but they didn't. It was just sort of random, like where they were attacking. And then, so I was fighting people in front of us, and then one person came in that was like clearly the leader. And they came at us, and I think I managed to wound him. And at that point, they retreated a little bit past where I could get at them. And they started giving like almost like a one-liner, they'll be back. And I remember realizing like, oh shoot, we had this all wrong. This is entirely hierarchical structure here. If the leader falls, all the troops are gonna go. Like, we need to get him, because it's not the sort of army where if the leader falls, everybody's gonna keep fighting. It's the one where it all depends on him. And so he's retreating. In the chat, Ross is a heroin addict. And as he's retreating, you know, I was thinking, oh no, we only wounded. He's gonna come back, and he's just saying like, oh, I'll be back, sort of thing. And as I'm thinking this arm outstretches past me. There was this orc next to me that I didn't know about, and he comes down with a mace and just smashes him just one hit. Head caves in. That's it. He's down. And I was thinking, oh, that's it. That's it. We won the battle. And so I turn to this orc that's right next to me, and he's just kind of like in a frenzy, you know. And I'm not sure if he is even on our side or not. So I'm kind of approaching this cautiously. That saying, you know, and I'm not sure if he speaks English, so I say like, so I dumb down my language intentionally, like, what you name? And then he goes, Goog. And I say, Goog, good. And he goes, and then I woke up from the dream. So I thought it was kind of hilarious. And looking back on it, I think my brain, or my subconscious, was sort of stealing from the Avengers, the puny god scene, you know, where Loki is giving a speech to the Hulk, and the Hulk just decides he's had enough of it. So, I mean, the orc just goes bam, and like, that's it, the battle's over. So Goog good, yeah. So yeah, go Goog good. And he's like, so the orc, the orc approved. He thought that was pretty funny. So like, so yeah, that was the last major dream I remember. So okay. Now I'm seeing repeating questions about Stadia being a failure. So we already talked about that. Let's see. Why do you prefer to use the Logitech F310 for gaming? And if fans can pay for a new controller when you have a controller in mind. Well, I don't use the Logitech F310 for gaming. Here, I use the, Logitech Dual Action. I use the Logitech Dual Action. Actually, I think I got to see the F310 in the store, and I can understand why people don't like it. The trigger buttons are really stiff. These are easy. It's just like click, click. Nothing. Well, the problem is, I'm waiting for this to die is the problem, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's that uncomfortable with it. But though again, the 310, they had pretty stiff trigger buttons, so maybe that's why people don't like it. Yeah, the D-pad's fine on that one. I mean, it feels like, you know, sort of classic Nintendo, Super Nintendo kind of thing. I'd probably just want a wired controller that just has that general layout. As for the rest of this, for the controller thing, what I mentioned, I'm going to try and bring that up in the follow-up episode if I have time. I'll expand on it because I feel like I didn't quite give the full explanation. So the follow-up will make things clearer on the controller thing. So yeah, I probably want it to be a light controller too. And like, I don't care about force feedback or extra functions or something. Just, something like this. and I guess that has the Xbox 360 compatibility. But okay, I glanced at the chat. What's the oldest DOS game you still own the disc for? Probably none. I think the disc, like floppy disk, got lost a time years ago. However, I have a CD. I have a copy of Stellar 7 that has CD audio. That one's pretty old. I actually have a Mac version of the Journeyman Project because the Mac one has the CD audio soundtrack on it. So there's probably a couple others. But yeah, for floppy disk, none. I have none. So I don't miss them. Okay. Oh yeah, somebody's talking about Windows 10 and the long-term service branch or see now. And they're saying, what are your thoughts on it? That might be an option for me. I switched to Windows 10. Although, again, I want Windows for VR. So I'm not sure if that one's updated enough to support VR or not. I think you need at least the fall creators update for some of the headsets. So if it's that up to date, then yeah, I might consider it. If it's not, then I may not be able to because that's one of the big things I want for it. Has the game ever inspired you to make your own? I haven't made video games. I made videos, so. Okay, here's a question that's been asked before, but I don't mind answering. They're talking about my bias against deserts. And they're wondering, like, a list of few deserts that I've actually enjoyed. I guess like the more surreal it is, the more I like it. And I think ones that I remember liking were King's Quest V. The big desert in Dungeon Siege. And let's see. I sort of found the desert interesting. Was it Gods Maybe Watching? I like, my favorite deserts are the ones where you don't know what's out there. Like it could be full of mystery. So yeah, whatever's turning the mystery or mysticism way up on the desert. Yeah, I kind of like the one for, was it The Never-Ending Story, the movie? Or was it Return to Ozland? The deadly desert there, or from, I think, okay, if I'm not remembering this incorrectly, I think the story was at the Dream Quest, the Lovecraft story, the Dream Quest of something, Kadeth or something. What is it? Lovecraft Dream Quest. The Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath. I seem to remember a desert later in that where they're just going way into the outlands, that sort of thing. So yeah, if you're really convincing me this is just mysterious and alien, you don't know what's out there, then yeah, that warms me up a lot, the deserts. So I was saying how is Dune's movie desert? Well, and so he's asking about Mad Max's desert. For Dune, yeah, Dune's pretty good, although it was a little spoiled for me because I already knew the plot of Dune. So if I hadn't known the plot of Dune, I probably would have liked it more because there's definitely some mysterious stuff going on out there. And Mad Max, the desert sort of works in the sense that it works with the sort of heavy metal vibe, where wastelanders shooting, attacking each other, cars slamming into each other, blood on the sand. So it sort of works, but even then I'm not like crazy about the desert the desert specifically. It's more like the post-apocalyptic part of Mad Max that I like. I don't know. They kind of know what they're doing though with Mad Max, with the visuals and the atmosphere with the Mad Max movies. So although I tried some of the game Mad Max, I just couldn't get into it. I don't know. It seemed perfectly competent. Just I couldn't get into it. So yeah, I'm picky with deserts. I mean, it's not that if you like deserts, fine. I find it's good to be honest with myself on this stuff. So. Somebody's asking if I was ever in theater. Not since I was a kid in elementary school. I had to do a play for this Edison thing, and we also did this Wizard of Oz play that I have hazy memories about. I remember all my teachers wanted me to be an elf in Wizard of Oz, and I didn't want to. But I think I ended up being conscripted as one of the lesser elves anyway, because because I look like one, because my ears would stick out a lot as a kid. So I think they it was like, oh, you're perfect for it. I didn't want to be an elf. So, okay. Yeah, so, yeah, I guess not. I think the Edison play I was in, I was like actually I had like a higher profile role. I think I was like the assistant to Edison or something, which I barely remember the play. So yeah, I haven't been in theater since like the 4th or 5th grade. Yeah, this is going on a while, but this is a rough question. Ross, with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 coming up, I was wondering, hypothetically, if a game was only possible to run with the cloud option, so the game is permanently connected to a server to process the detail of the whole world, would you bend over this one time? And well, one, my big interest in that is I really want a mod for that have a driving mode. After that, it gets it's a rough question because I kind of almost don't want to get I sincerely enjoy the game less if I just have this feeling in the back of my mind all the time that it's gonna die. See, that's the thing. If it's a game I don't care about that much, it's not so bad. But if I'm loving the game, that's when it gets to me. Because I know it's like, again, I like to be able to go back and experience these worlds of games, you know, and if I know that's going to be impossible, then it's like, gee, is it better to play it and get the experience or just not get attached to it and play something else that, you know, isn't going to betray you? So, that, put it like this, I would do it if they committed to like releasing code at the end of it. So let's say they say, hey, you know what, guys? There's no computer on the planet that can run this, but we'll release the files so you can try if you want. Then I feel like, okay, now we have a chance. And you know what? I mean, they won't do this. See, that's the thing. It's so rarely an honest conversation with these companies that are doing this sort of thing. But I would imagine that if, okay, I've heard Microsoft Flight Simulator, I think it does actually support an offline mode where but you just don't get all the additional data to make the landscape better from the cloud. Or maybe it's like, because they're working off of Bing Maps. But let's say they, what? Okay, yes, I heard the game itself, if you were to just have the deluxe version of everything that's in the cloud, the actual amount of data is, I think I read 2 petabytes. Okay, yeah, not many computers are gonna be able to store that. But imagine if Microsoft said, okay, you know, in the future, okay guys, we can't support this anymore. We're gonna shut it down, but we'll leave the files available for download for what, 30 days. Do you think the community wouldn't say challenge accepted and just grab that stuff? They could coordinate efforts where people are, okay, Bob over here is grabbing chunk 387 of the 1,000 smaller chunks of the 2 petabyte data. And we're gonna, and so is John. So even if one of them goes down, we still have a replacement. And then Neil is going all in on server space, and he's actually gonna mirror this whole thing. and or something like that. So man, people would do it. Like I'm certain. So I think it's not an honest argument to say, oh, we can't do it or it's impossible. Hold your hands up. Yeah, right. I mean, I think anybody who knows dedicated gamers, they would friggin' try. It's so. However, that said, I think there is sort of a watered down version that will work locally. I'm not sure though. They might still have copy protection that prevents it. But it won't be pulling most of the data from the cloud for this toned down version. So I don't know. And I am going to expand on this topic in one of the side videos I really want to make, not the next one, but hopefully the one after that, that will make it far easier to answer this question. I don't want to give away the full reveal yet. So okay. So he's asking what my favorite type of protagonist is. I don't know. Either they're saying silent, one who says something in a while, full dialogue. It just depends on the character. I don't know. I mean, I don't. I mean, in some games, I care more about the game than whoever I'm controlling. In others, the character's hilarious or really. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, and somebody mentioned how I like the silent. Yeah, I think the silent guy in Grand Theft Auto 3 might be my favorite silent protagonist because he speaks through his actions, not his words, Whereas like the Legacy of Kain series, Kain talks a lot. I think he's awesome. So that's another good one. So I don't know if there's any special one type. It depends on the character in the game. Have you ever had to turn down an invite to go on a podcast or other avenue of public speaking? Why? Well, maybe not had to. Again, I've gotten, just because I'm so busy now, I tend to turn down ones where the people who want to go on the podcast have less than 100 views total, like on previous videos they've done. So if they've made several videos, but they only have like 5 views each, it's like, well, kind of build up your channel a little more. I got 100 views. Look, you can do that by kind of campaigning. You can build that up. I mean, yeah, 10,000 views, you're going to need some luck going for you, but 100, I think you can. So I've turned out some of those. I think those are the only ones I turned down. I guess if I was like really busy, I might have turned down one before, but I don't remember that. But I think that's the main one. If I felt like I just had, I don't know if this has happened, but I think maybe I thought about it for some podcasts. If there's one where I'm like, if I would be just a complete fish out of water and they're telling like a bunch of inside jokes and it's like kind of a really tight knit clique, then I might not want to go on that because then it would just kind of be awkward for everyone involved. And the core audience would be like, who the hell is this guy? Get him out of here. And the people, and I just wouldn't be able to contribute that much necessarily, depending on how kind of locked down it was. So. Okay, let's see. Are there any questions you're sick of being asked? Probably what's the status of the movie? I'm sorry to mention that. It's like, I know in my head I'm gonna get it made, but I can struggle to justify it because I know everybody can't see what I see. So, but hey, you're gonna keep getting updates on this until I have that video done at least. I mean, not the whole movie, but to show where we are in animation. If people want, I can keep giving kind of piecemeal updates on the movie per month instead of once a year because that plan's backfired a little bit. You can let me know what you think on that. Okay, I'm going to get more selective on the questions. Let's see. If Valve decided to make Half-Life 3 in VR and you decide to keep going after episode 2 with Freeman's Mind, would you consider experimenting with Freeman's Mind in VR? Or you wait for Valve and the modding community to convert it to a conventional FPS first? Well, first, I want to make sure the community still wants that by then. If they did, as long as it's easy to watch on, well, yeah, okay, if it was in VR, it would have to be filmed in such a way you could just watch it on YouTube. I don't think I'd make it exclusive VR because I want to hit the largest audience. So. But if it was smooth enough and wouldn't make you sick by doing it in VR, it could be in VR, I guess. I mean, recorded from that. Okay, questions about Freeman's Mind, whether it was for uplink, whether it was more or less difficult to record the episode in Gold Source compared to Source. It was a little more difficult. Had to remember some things. I remember some bugs a little bit, but I was able to get around. But it's more like it was a little more difficult on average, but Source has more spikes. You know, where there's some problems that are just, oh my God, on Source. I have no idea how I'm going to fix this, where I don't remember as much of that on Gold Source, but I'm not as experienced with it either. I'm much more experienced with Source. Okay, so, somebody's asking where I stand on Kingdom of Loathing, which I haven't heard of at all. It's a free online RPG older than World of Warcraft. Okay, it survived entirely on developer salaries being funded by player donations. So kind of like what me on YouTube, I guess. Let's see. And being vulnerable to nature as such, players worry about when the game will end. The dev said the game can last indefinitely. Oh, okay. So they want to go against the games as a service. Again, I'm not familiar with this game, so no, I don't think they should have to refund them. But I think if you're been fostering a hardcore devoted community that long, you should have an end of life plan. I mean, like, okay, we ran out of money. Well, then at least release the source, or throw people a bone. You know, or you know, have a patch to say like, okay, here's some private server executables or something that they can connect to, because you know you don't want those people have been supporting you. That would be like me pulling all my videos. Like, let's say I just stopped making videos. That'd be like me pulling all my existing ones and just closing shop, say, okay, bye guys, we're done. It was a good run. Like, what? No, come on. I wouldn't. That would be too much of a. I think that'd be a terrible move community-wise, not knowing anything about it. And this actually reminds me of a game idea you're welcome to steal if you want. I had an idea thinking, make some kind of medieval RPG where I was thinking, you know how a lot of people don't like pay to win stuff, or I was thinking, make a game that fully embraces that, fully embraces pay to win. It would have to have a sense of humor. So the idea is it could be free to play. If you're a free player, you're a serf, like you're a peasant. Like people like look down on you, like tell you to go do things. They can attack you without repercussion. Like, you know, let's say you want to go on adventures. Okay, fine. But you might get garbage gear. And if you find something good, you run the risk of like other players if other players realize you have something good, they could beat you up and take it from you. It's like, what's a peasant doing with a sword like this? You stole it. And then like, you know, take it. Now, if you bought the game, like you bought a copy of it, then you'd be like in between, like a tradesman or something, or like a medium adventurer or something like that, where you'd have some equipment. You would have the best stuff. Everybody would respect you more than any of the peasants, and you know, sort of middle of the road. And if you bought like an ongoing subscription, well, then you'd be a noble. You could have guards like escorting you. You have all the best equipment. You would have constant resources coming in. And if you're worried about the game being too easy, well, then you could balance it so that only the nobles could go after the most like hardcore monsters or something, if you want to make it kind of fantasy based. And like the peasants would just get demolished. So you could still have it as a challenge for the noble, and then everyone would sing like praises of the land. You could have like this big billboard where only nobles and like paid people are on it, or like only the nobles are first, and everybody below that is or like the people who bought the game, and peasants aren't even on the list. Like the greatest peasant would receive no recognition from the game itself. Again, you'd have to have a sense of humor if you did this game. But I was thinking that might be kind of hilarious, to just dive headfirst into it, make no, be 100% upfront with what it is. Like, just embrace. And what's funny is if you're like a subscribing person, you could play as anyone you want, but let's say you're a subscriber and you want to play as a peasant. The game would try to talk you out of it. It's like your assistant would come up, Lord, are you certain you wish to do that? They were treated if you're a peasant, you might be treated most terribly. But like, it's like, I really advise you to reconsider playing as a squire or a knight or, like a lord, like the game's like really concerned for you, and like everything about the writing and the tone would vary depending on what you're playing as. So, like, I don't know. I think that might be a fun idea. It's not something I'm going to do, but, I'm happy. I'm fine if somebody wants to steal that idea from me. So it's, I was thinking that'd be funny. You could make it as I mean, the peasant could still have his adventures, but they're never going to be having as grand adventures. They're not going to see the most amazing monsters or something, or all they're ever going to have is just a hut or a shack. Whereas you could have this massive kind of castle building mini game if people want to like spruce up their hideouts or something, or where they live, their bases. And again, you'd have escorts, small. You'd have a small army. It could be even like a next. You could even have like a next layer of like small army battles where you're competing against other lords. And if you're a peasant, the best, you could try to fight in the battle, but you might get killed or something. So yeah, just have like a kind of semi-accurate class-based hierarchy in a medieval fantasy game. So I think that'd be fun. And the developers can make their money. Okay, so yeah, I got off track there. Okay, I should answer a few more questions. Let's see. Okay, somebody's asking how much would it cost to buy a house? I don't know, man. It varies a lot where you live. Oh, somebody's talking about donations to buy a house. Well, I love the thought, because when I mentioned the all videos on hold video, yeah, that's 100% the truth, where I said that, my recording really does affect where I can live. And I hate to say it, but, well, okay, I don't want to get, let's just say the mold drama continues, but I'm fighting the fight. I'll say that. That would be amazing to have a house, but that's, that may not be in the cards. So I'm certainly open to suggestions on that, but I don't want to like shake people down for a house. That's. Oh yeah, actually, I remember a statistic I saw not long ago. It's something like, okay, for the baby boomers, when they were the age, like I think I'm like I think I'm at the old end of the millennials. They were. I'm either a really old millennial or a really young Generation X, wherever I am. I think most consider me a millennial. But the baby boomers, when they were the millennials' age, the way they are now, they controlled 21% of the wealth in the United States, and millennials now control 3%. So I thought, wow, that's an interesting statistic. So for the same age, not now, because the baby boomers are older. Of course, they have more wealth accrued, but, So, I almost feel like, a house is it's almost above my station, I haven't really been following the virus outbreak lately. So he's asked, although I recommend the movie Contagion. It's a pretty solid movie. Apparently it mirrors like what a really bad virus outbreak would look like. So it's a cool movie. Okay, what happened to the getting help with videos thing? It's in slow motion is what's happening, but I'm slowly getting more help in because if I do it too fast, there's a twitch again. It tends to backfire. Let's see. Ross, do you think Steam and EGS, Epic Game Store, are to some extent games as a service? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, any game that you can't run if you're offline, then yeah, it's games as a service. And even then, their offline backup system, it depends on the game. It depends on the game. So yeah, it's totally, it's like half and half. You know, well, actually, I don't even know what the status is in Epic Store. It could be completely, but, and I say half and half. It may not be literally half. It just, the acid test is can you run the game disconnected from the internet after you've downloaded all the files and everything. If you can't, it's games as a service. Okay, I may skip some. They're asking what it's like being married to someone English isn't their second language. It's all right. Magda's English is excellent. In fact, it's a little too good because that might be part of the reason I don't speak more Polish. Actually, I think it helps in a way because it makes us more both a little understanding of the other because that we may realize that what we said isn't exactly what we thought the person was saying because there's bound to be some misinterpretations. So. Okay. I'm reading, there's a question I haven't seen. They're talking about art, saying I'm for art preservation. I'm for not preventing art preservation. I mean, if the art sucks and nobody wants to preserve it, okay, well then leave it to the ravages of time, you know? But if people want to preserve it, then yeah, don't stop them. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, this is a much larger. This happens a lot with MMOs too. Okay, they're talking about like when there's Steam sales, they'll make items, and then after the event's gone, after the event, they're gone forever. I don't like that. I think it's gimmicky. I mean, or rather, I might be okay with that if once the game or the service, whatever, was gone, they release all of it. Because it's like, I don't think that's really part of the vision. I think it's a tactic to try to hype. I'm a little more cynical on it. I think it's a tactic to hype the business up. So yeah, I never really liked that, but I can see where it has a certain appeal to a game like, oh, only this item was only available 3 years ago and now it has a lot of value within the game. Even it's artificial value is what it's, because they could hit a button and everybody could have one, but it's kept artificially. Yeah, I don't really like that, but that's a lower priority for me. Again, if they promise to release all of it once the game ended, then I'd probably be pretty cool with it actually, because then it's like, okay, well then it's not going to be destroyed, but for now it's a collector's item, you know. So. Okay, well, they're talking about game compatibility. I'm gonna have a video all over this in the future. So I'm not really. I don't really want to go the legacy hardware route, because then if that dies, it's just gonna get increasingly harder and more expensive to get the parts for the game, and that's more space too. And see, that's an example of real scarcity as opposed to artificial scarcity, because they stop manufacturing the parts. So as time goes on, they become increasingly rare, and they're not going to last forever. So, oh man, the questions keep going on in this. Okay, I should get more discriminatory here. Oh, they're talking about the music released from the Skellebones one. That was a fan who offered to make stuff. I think he used to have it online. If I can remember, I'll try to email him, ask if it's cool to release his music. I might reuse that a lot. Okay, I'm skipping some more stuff. Oh, it helps when the questions are repeats here. Okay, some people are answering. Oh, I think I'm almost at the bottom. Okay, so in the live chat, you can ask them, put 3 equal signs, and before your question, I'll try to answer a few before I go. This is a long one. Oh yeah, they're asking how I feel that the guy at Crow Team worked at Stadia. That sucks, but you know, who knows? A developer may have to put food on the table. It's hard to judge. It's hard to judge at the developer level because, you know, see, they're the equivalent of the tradesmen in the medieval hierarchy. They're not the lords calling the shots. So I of course wish they didn't do it, but hey, you know what? Maybe they offered him triple his salary or something. You know, so maybe he might prefer to work at Serious Sam, but you know, he could retire 10 years sooner if he does this one. I mean, I don't know the specifics, but if I become a successful food YouTuber, will you come on my show? I guess I could, but the traveling, the logistics might get tricky. Okay, so now I'm going to the live questions here. Or hopefully I don't miss too many. Oh, I haven't played this yet. Okay. Running with Scissors depicted Tim Schafer as a sexual deviant in Postal 2. Paradise Lost. Do you think they were right to make that caricature of him? Or should they have kept more sexual edgy stuff for original characters? I don't know what the backstory is behind that. I think you shouldn't be shocked when Running with Scissors makes fun of someone, though. I mean, come on, that's like, it's like you can't say nobody saw that coming. Oh no, they made. I mean, what they? I think in Postal 2 they had like the what oh yeah, I think the easiest level was called Lieberman mode because was it Joe Lieberman was trying to ban video games for it. So yeah, I don't know the backstory for why they did that, but even if there was no backstory, I'd be like, well, okay, that's kind of funny, you know. No, I mean, come on, that's their thing, man. They could, yeah, they made fun of a lot of people. Like, what's a funny way to murder someone? Well, I'm okay. Let's say like within a game or a movie. It's more. It's not about the way. It's more about the context. Like, just like to how I was thinking some sort of over the top, almost like a sucker punch murder. I'm trying to think of like some examples from movies, but there's one. If I can ever get it animated, this one I wouldn't mind doing 2D animated. I have an example of that with some sort of dark comedy. It's really contextual, but like, okay, well, I'm thinking it's not even a murder, but I'm thinking of the scene in Groundhog Day where he just steps out in front of the truck and let's see again, or he's just like this, you know, the completely flat expression on his face, you know. But that's a suicide in that, but yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think about it. It's well, I mean, Pulp Fiction has a classic example of that, you know, but you've got to have an opinion because you know that's. I'm sure everybody knows the scene I'm talking about. You know. Okay, let's see. What do you think of 5G? I'm not. Oh yeah, I was thinking about mentioning that when people were talking about the privacy question. I wouldn't be surprised if they put high-end surveillance cameras on all those satellites they're throwing up in the air just to increase the paranoia more. Uh, I don't know. I've always been a little leery of just bombarding things with wireless rays of any sort because, yeah, okay, I think a lot of things like radio waves are probably harmless, but it's like the more you increase the intensity, how much do we really know that's not going to give you cancer in 30 years, you know? Whereas if you weren't blasted with it, it doesn't. So I don't know. I guess I'm not thrilled about having just being hammered with wireless rays any more than we already are, you know? But I'm talking from a place of ignorance largely and superstition. So you can, it's just more of a comfort thing. It's just like, I'd rather not be bombarded additionally with more ways. Well, yeah, I mean, I tend to have wired stuff all over here. So like having my rays contained. Let's see. Okay, the silver protection saying I haven't gotten to my top tier ideas. I have one about free will. Is that one of those? No, that's the one that's been recorded. I'd say that one's not even the top tier idea. Some of the well, there'd be more action oriented the top tier, but it would be. I'm quite happy with the free will one in terms of the writing on that one. So let's see. Okay. Oh, okay. It looks like I can scroll on Twitch. So that's good. Maybe I don't. Maybe in the future I don't need people to use those equal signs. We'll see. Yeah, I realize. Oh wait, everybody can see it on the on the recording now because I'm scrolling through it. Do you have a strong opinion against cliche stereotype characters, even if they're realistic? Do you prefer unique ones that challenge societal pressures and standards, more just a speck in the vastness of stars? It all depends on how it's used. I mean, if it's a stereotype but it's really funny, then sure. Or if it's a stereotype but there's like a situation where actually in this specific situation, the stereotype actually is realistic, then sure. But I mean, I don't like them if they're lazy, you know, where if it's just like, okay, I'm going to try and do a cheap joke here and it's just, it feels kind of tasteless, you know? So yeah, I guess I'm all right with typical characters if they know what they're doing, you know? What games did you try to play differently than intended? I think this is us at the end of last time. And unfortunately, I didn't think about it. Well, pretty much, well, I want to say the majority of DayZ clones, because I tend not to engage and hunt people out. I tend to just, when I play those games, it's like, all right, I'm playing this like I'm a cartographer almost. I mean, I'm not necessarily making my own map, but I want to see the entire game world. So that's my mission. If I get killed, all right, start over. Okay, those areas are going to be hotter, and then like these are probably more safe. And then basically I win once I've explored the entire map. So yeah, I do that a lot with DayZ clones. Let's see. Do you have any hard science fiction books or other works of art that you can recommend? Geez, I have to think about it. Sorry. I'm kind of behind on my reading. Well, yeah, I guess you can read the original Starship Troopers. And that's some interesting. I don't know. I don't recall how hard the science fiction is in Starship Troopers, but it's definitely up there. And in a way, I almost think the movie is smarter in some ways. However, if you've seen the movie, the book's definitely different. So yeah, you'll get something out of it. There's some more stuff I'd have to think about. Well, I mean, of course, there's like classics like Brave New World or 1984. Or actually, I need to read the book Soylent Green is based off of. That's sort of up there. There's a few recommendations. Well, hey, the virus is going around. Everybody check out the Andromeda strain. That's a good hard science fiction to read. No, I enjoyed actually a lot of Michael Crichton stuff. I enjoyed like old Jurassic Park or Congo, Sphere. Okay, let's see. Okay, well, somebody had the wrong symbols. I put extra work into Freedom's Mind too. Wouldn't it be wiser to just play through the game vanilla so you finish it faster, move on to other things you actually want to do? That's not where the bulk of the time lies. The bulk of the time lies with me coming up with things to say. And then going through the kind of robotic efforts. Okay, recording to get the line right. Okay, copy, edit, put it here. It's like an assembly line. And then I have to stop and think about what I'm going to say next. So it doesn't make that much of a difference, really. Okay, it's that and me wanting to work on other things are the things that hold up Freeman's mind. So I am working on this side video. I've also been working on Game Dungeon. I did stuff on the movie, and I actually made some of a dent in my email last month. That all took away from Freeman's mind. So you guys have to convince me you want me to just drop everything and go hardcore on Freeman's mind. Like I did during that crunch when I was finishing up. Although I don't want to go at it that hard because that got kind of miserable by the end of it. But you need to convince me, no, Ross, stop Game Dungeon. No, Ross, stop work on the movie. Ross, stop replying to emails. Just do Freeman's Mind. If you convince me, if the audience convinces me that's what they want me to do, I'll do it. So, but if you want Game Dungeon, then it's gonna kind of give and take, you know. I'm not familiar with Blue Maxima Flashpoint. The Save the Flash games. Yeah, there's some archive doing that. Yeah, I didn't know the name of it. Yeah, I had heard of that. That's good, you know. Well, I mean, that's how I want it, you know. If people want to preserve the games, preserve them. So that's... How do you feel about the whole Warcraft 3 situation, if you've heard anything about it? It sounds like it's a perfect storm. There's the part I'd really noticed was that in the end user license agreement, they made it so that if you make a custom game for it now, they own the intellectual property for it. And that might change if they get enough blowback. I don't know. My guess is the lawyers write this, and if it creates a lot of bad PR, then sometimes there's pushback if it doesn't severely impact their bottom line. But yeah, I think the other big controversy, well, one, there's multiple ones. Like another one I found out apparently, it's a good thing I played Warcraft 3 with the fans at one point, because now it sounds like it's impossible. Like apparently they wrecked existing Warcraft 3 multiplayer, so you can't play with fans now. You can only do it with Reforge. Maybe they'll patch that, maybe they won't. Who knows, you know? I mean, I'm not fully up to date on the news. Maybe people know more than I do. And I saw a video where they showed a comparison of cinematic cutscenes of what they were showing in 2018 versus now. It's like, oh wow, yeah, the camera angles were a lot better on the 2018 version. It's like, what like, I think they backpedaled. I think they were gonna what's it called? Was it RetroCon, where you retroactively change your story? I think they were gonna do that, and I think that was a bad move. But okay, fine. You can't still have good cinematics on the existing stuff, especially when you tease that, you know. So I don't know. And then it apparently has tons of bugs. I think people were saying NPCs don't have shadows, like they don't even have the blobby shadows from the original. Like, and I saw a comparison where they showed like, yeah, you can make out units much more easily on the original. So it's like, man, it's impressive how much they've dropped the ball on it, you know? You'd think that'd be a slam dunk. Like, okay, update the models, maybe fix the code a little bit to incorporate some modern features, update the textures and animations, and if we want to go the extra mile, we have better shots for the cinematics. Yeah, that's it, we're done. You know, keep the gameplay the same. You already have all the voice acting. You have all the music. I mean, it's not a walk in the park, but it seems like you have training wheels on a game like that versus creating an original game. It's yeah. I'm glad I'm not hugely into Warcraft 3 these days because then I'd be upset I couldn't play. But they may resolve the older Warcraft 3 thing. I don't know. I mean, and of course, they released the game before it's ready. So under my commandments, they're required to label that as early access, Or here's the beta release, open beta. Okay, let's see. What do you think about Windows Live shutting down? So many games using the service cannot make keys. Oh, I think there's cracks for it. I have a crack for Windows Live. I mean, yeah, it sucks for normal people who don't have the knowledge or inclination to mess with that. I mean, because, yeah, I can understand people, hey, I bought the game. I just wanted to run the game. Why do I have to learn like 50 steps to get this working? But no, you can crack Windows Live. At least, I mean, I've been able to do that for what? Gears of War, the old, was it Red Faction Guerrilla, Section 8. I mean, maybe it was just those games I got lucky on, but I used like a generic Windows Live crack, so. I haven't played Space Station 13 yet. Any funny high school shenanigan memories? Oh, geez, probably. It would take time. I'm going in overtime here, guys. Maybe you can ask me that for next time. Let's see. Take time to explain it. Do you think there's such a thing as a gray side? The good guys have their own side and bad guys vice versa. Well, yeah, I mean, good people put in rough situations. That happens all the time, And bad guys can do good by accident or as a side effect that they don't care about. Have you ever thought about doing urban explanation, Urbex? It certainly helped with my craving. Yeah, I guess so. When I visited Warsaw because I needed to get my passport updated, basically all the time I wasn't out with Magda, sometimes she stayed at the hotel. I basically was just walking around everywhere. I was just seeing everything I could of Warsaw. I mean, I tend to do that like wherever I am. So, I mean, urban stuff isn't quite as nice because you're constantly hearing loud traffic, like all the time. So it might even be a little worse in Poland because they really bounce off the buildings in some areas, but that's why I like kind of doing it in games almost more. In games, I can just walk out in the traffic. It's fine, Let's see. What would be your theme, Ross? Think about it for a minute. Like the music theme? Or a favorite song? I don't know if I have a single favorite song. Music. I don't know for music thing. Because are we judging based on just how the music sounds or the lyrics? Because it's lyrics I got to stop and think about it. I don't know. Okay, let's see. I haven't really followed death of Kobe Bryant. I've never really followed sports. I mean, of course, seeing nice people die is never good, Have you heard of self-hosting video service PeerTube? No, I haven't. And people have also mentioned BitChute to me. And there was a new one that wasn't exactly a YouTube replacement that was, I think, Linus Tech Tips was launching. And I know there was another one I heard about. So this is why I kind of want to wait for things to sort of congeal a little bit before I, import everything over to another platform. Okay, Okay, I was mentioning about episode 2 there. That part I forgot about. I think I've only played through episode 2 once. So, what's the longest gaming session you've ever gone through? Uh, it might be in the neighborhood of like, I'm lightweight when it comes to gaming sessions. I want to say maybe 16 hours, something like that, like basically the whole day. I think I didn't even mean to. I might have done as long as 24 hours. I don't know. I remember playing a lot of Team Fortress Classic before. I went to a LAN party, but that was just sort of all night. I went to a couple LAN parties. In a tournament. I generally don't do that now, though. I kind of like to break things up with like exercise and or keep working on things or watch a movie or something. So, yeah, I haven't done a long game session, I think, in a long time. I mean, now I have much more of awareness that I just kind of want to move after a while. So, yeah, in fact, we're kind of approaching my limits now for sitting still. So, okay, I should wrap this up. Would you rather be in a fight with vampires, werewolves, or zombies? Zombies easily. I mean, come on, what vampires or werewolves? You're gonna have a hard time, you know. Oh, he's saying the Twitch chat gets cut off after a certain point. Well, it's still an IRC too. Which university and major would you choose? I'm all paid up and paid a certain amount to live off to. Jeez, that's a great question. I'm not sure what though. I mean, it's. And well, for sure, I wouldn't know what university. I don't know enough about who specializes in what. With major though, I mean, yeah, I don't know. It's weird. I'm at the point where I'd rather be doing things than kind of spending a lot of time learning stuff. And see, that's the thing. Like, even if I was in college, like I wouldn't want to even graduate. I would maybe want to like listen in on like courses I'm interested in or something like that, you know? Because like, wait, why should I do homework? Why don't I just work on videos, you know, or something or money? Like, what's the point of doing homework? I don't need this degree. So, but yeah, it might be interesting, worth learning about. But I don't want to write the paper on this. I just want to learn about it. I have not read Neuromancer yet. Let's see. I do not know what happened to Noesis. But I do have the guides I made for it backed up somewhere. I need to get those backed up. Let's see. Okay, I'll pick 3 more questions. Sorry, I'm kind of backed up here. I'm skimming the gun question because again, I'm not knowledgeable enough on guns to know which would be. If I needed a gun, I'd want one where the ammo is plentiful, I guess. Do you have any strong opinion on Schwarzenegger films? I feel like some like the run. Okay, that's like the Running Man, Total Recall, are enjoyable films, which also have a lot of thought put into them, so it's being just dumb action films. Well, I think Schwarzenegger's at his best when he's doing dumb action films. I mean, when I think about my favorite Schwarzenegger performance, I'm kind of leaning towards Commando because that's just pure Schwarzenegger. Like he's in his element for that. I mean, yeah, he's been in. I'm trying to think of like what the. I'm trying to think of like smarter movies that he's been. Well, like yeah, like the Terminator. I mean, that's yeah. Well, I generally like Schwarzenegger. I mean, but yeah, I think like if that's probably my favorite performance, I guess, by him is in Commando. I think he's at his best when he sort of has like this kind of cool confidence, is making one-liners, that sort of thing, you know. I've seen them release everything as soon as it's ready, but I think pacing things out would be much better because then we would always get something each month rather than randomly. How do you know that? What if it takes me more than a month, even if it's paced out? Like, and I don't know. I guess that creates even. Maybe I could do that. I don't know. Well, yeah, I don't know. I'd have to see. I have to delay it even more to get ahead. And do people really want that? You know, because that's the thing. You're not guaranteed it's going to be regular. Even well, you'd be guaranteed it's regular until it's not. It's like, okay, once a month, once a month. Okay, gap, gap, gap. Okay, once a month, once a month. What you know, it'd be like that. So. Besides, I've lost so much sleep in the past on making some videos. I'd rather just. I don't want to give myself even more deadlines. You know. Okay, I think I lost track of the 3-question thing. So. Yeah. Okay, that's it for now. Yeah, I went on a long time, man. Okay, so I'm gonna get back to the videos. Again, Freeman's Mind or a very extensive sort of side video I've been wanting to do a long time coming out next. So, and then more Freeman's Mind, and then eventually Game Dungeon. Blah. Okay. See you. Oh wow, I wasn't record. I hit the wrong button and wasn't recording. Oh, I'm gonna have to pull this on the Twitch then. Okay. Sorry, YouTube.